Hello, and welcome to this special anniversary episode of Waiting on the Trade, a comics book club for people who can't keep up with monthly comics. I'm Matt Ledger.
And I'm Patrick Fitzgerald Fleck.
This month, we're celebrating what is kind of our 50th episode by taking a look back at the comics we've read so far, and in true podcast fashion, ranking them from best to worst. That's right, Pat. It's power ranking time.
Like, yeah, we all knew it was coming.
I didn't actually, though.
No, you
No,
didn't.
I didn't.
You were lying to yourself.
I don't really want to do this, Pat. But the fans demanded it.
You know that's not true. You know there's one fan in particular.
Okay, at least one fan demanded it. This episode is a love letter to Callum Smith, frequent guest host and instigator of of things gone terribly wrong. It was basically Cal's idea for our anniversary episode. You and I, Pat, were talking about doing something special, and Cal had the idea to actually finally power rank the books, which I have been very hesitant to do up to this point.
So hesitant.
And we've talked about this in the past, Pat, because when we were creating the podcast, we were thinking about well, should we rank the books against each other? And I don't know what it is about comics in particular to me. Maybe it's just because I've read so many. I don't know.
Well, our previous podcast, when we were watching through Battlestar Galactica, we rated each episode, right?
Yeah,
and we made the decision of not rating the comics.
Yeah,
for this
and
one.
for a rewatch show like that, where it's this is one series, here's every episode of the series, and some of them are at least, I don't know, discrete units of story enough where it's you can watch this one and you can skip this one, here and there. Battlestar doesn't really lend itself to that, I guess, so it's not a great example, but
that's what everyone needs to watch. Black Market. Everyone does.
So you can
get down there in the middle.
they're similar enough to each other that you can rank them. You can see different quality tiers where it's okay, this is a good unit of Battlestar Galactica and this is a terrible unit of Battlestar Galactica, Black Market.
Sure. Yeah.
Whereas with comics, there's so much disparate stuff that I think it's harder to for me to be set in oh yeah, this one's good and this one's bad. It's well, no, this one's an apple and this one's an orange and they're both good for different reasons, and I don't really know that I want to rank them all against each other, but we're here now. We're doing the episode.
Look what you've done, Cal. Look what you've done.
How do you feel about power ranking, Pat? What is your mindset going into this marathon of an episode?
I'm game. I have no qualms. Let's do this.
Okay. Are you excited about it?
Sure. We could say that.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, I was I'm hoping one of us is. All the listeners have tuned out now that I've been so hesitant about this. I think we're actually going to have a good discussion.
You power rank
everything,
yeah. Matthew. This is literally the first time you've ever had any hesitation to power rank.
It's super weird. I agree. And honestly, I was looking through some of the books today that I was a little bit less fresh on, and I was okay, well that one goes. I did it. I have power ranked them mostly. I don't think I've got them in specific order yet. We'll probably be ironing that out as we go between the two of us. And obviously your tiers are going to differ a little bit from mine also. So we'll sort that all out along the way, and I think it'll be a good time. But I had a good time looking back at the books and comparing them to each other and trying to figure out where they fit. So I think it'll be a good episode. I think we'll have a good discussion.
Yeah, for our almost 50 issues of
comics. So let's talk about that, right? This is what, episode 60? Hang on, let me check my podcast feed quick.
Finished episode 68?
No, 62, I think, actually. Because you got to count the 0 episode.
Oh, true.
This is the 62nd episode, which we're selling as the 50th episode. It feels like the most, batshit Marvel Comics numbering thing to me, and I love it. I love the stunt of it. I'm into that. I love saying it's the 50th episode when it's really the 62nd. Although really, if we were doing it right, we would have done an anniversary episode at 50 and then at 51 also, instead of waiting and doing it later. But neither here nor there, I guess, a little bit. Basically how we did the math on this is we cut the 0 episode out, and we cut out all the episodes of the Dream Journal. And that makes this the 50th episode.
Oh, we're keeping the Endless Nights in.
Endless Nights is in because it was a regular episode. Also, the
Yep.
episode where we did not actually read a comic book and we just talked about how to find good comics is in the
Sourcing
in the
them.
numbering,
Yeah.
but we can't rank it. There's no book there.
So I was right at 61. Haha.
That's how you
Cool.
get this being the 50th episode, despite it being the 62nd episode. It's close enough. Who cares?
It makes logical
We're
sense.
just
if you
here to
think
have a
about
good
it.
time and
Yeah.
talk about comic books, most of which are good, which is nice. Like, I don't know exactly what your
Yeah.
ranking is going into this, Pat, but like, we've kind of divided this into tiers to get us started at least, so that we at least have somewhere to start of like, this one's in the top tier, next tier, middle tier, blah, blah, blah. We've got A, B, C, D, F, traditional American
Mhm.
grade ranking system.
That's right.
I have in my notes, which you can disagree with this as you see fit, but this is kind of how I see the tiers playing out. So an A is a perfect or near perfect comic. I would recommend someone who like asked me about this comic to go buy the comic and read it now. Like, just go read it. You should be reading it already. What are you doing here? So that's an A. B is a good comic. You should read it. You don't have to go buy it now, but like, it's on sale, buy it. It's at the library, pull it off the shelf. Go read that one. C, average comic. It's fine. If you happen to pick it up, you probably won't be disappointed. It's not going to wow you.
Yeah.
D, a bad comic. You probably shouldn't read this unless you have like a specific reason to, which like my D tier is interesting. Like, I feel like we're going to have interesting conversations about the D tier.
Differentiating D and F is going to be something.
So this is how, because that's actually what tripped me up when I was like putting the ranking tier like descriptions together. So what gets me on D versus F is like D, if you read it, I wouldn't fault you for it. F, if you heard us talk about it and you read it, I'd be like, why'd you do that? You shouldn't have read that one. And like, we are gonna have very few Fs. Turns out most of the comics we've read on this are like at least passable. I have a couple in mind that we might throw in there. I think you probably do too. We'll see.
Could be.
I don't want to be mean because like it takes so much hard work to make these things, and like all of these books we read and we had good conversations about, and like that.
Yeah, I do want to make that clear for any of the co-hosts that are listening to this. I had a great time talking about every single one of these. I would not take back reading or discussing any of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was great.
And like, again, this is a podcast where for the most part, the guest hosts choose the books they bring on. And like, sometimes people bring stuff that they really love and we have a great discussion about it because it's really great. And sometimes people pick stuff that like, either they read a long time ago and they just want to like have a nostalgic conversation about it, or like they haven't read it and they think it'll be good. And it turns out like, that's no shit. Like, it's not the guest host's fault that the book is bad. Like, we always have a good conversation too. I've never ended a recording of this podcast and been like, well, I wish we hadn't done that. Always have a good time.
For sure.
And I think we'll have a good time today also.
Yeah. We'll see.
We'll see. All right. Pat, you got anything else that you want to talk about before we get into this logistics wise? Like, if we're going to power rank it, we should make up a lot of nonsense rules, because that's the best part about power ranking. Is like criteria that don't quite make sense or fit together, and like you just have to mash it together as you go.
I mean, I'm expecting to get down to like nitty gritty where like my personal feelings toward the thing is going to clash with how you feel about the historical legacy of this writer in the comics book industry. That kind of stuff that I don't have the context for, but their thick lines bummed me out. So we'll see how it goes.
I mean, I think that's fine. Like, I was thinking about today, and there are a couple runs where actually I feel like they drop a little bit more in my estimation, like from where we talked about, like when we talked about them with the person we had on to talk about that book, because like I read further on in the run and it kind of like fumbled the ball down the road. So like as a result of that, I would maybe like lower the grade a grade or a half a grade, because it's like, well, spoilers, Green Lantern Volume 1's really interesting. I cannot get past the third volume of that series. Like, I don't understand what's happening.
Oh, really?
Oh boy, I bought it on a Black Friday sale, and oof. But we will talk about that one when we get there. We got a lot of books to hit before we get to that one.
It's true. And yeah, we're going to sort them. We're going to try to go in order of the episodes themselves, right?
Yeah, I have a list in the show or in the episode script. That's the first book to the last book we've read. We go from All Star Superman, which is what you and I started out with, to the first volume of Kieran Gillen and Salvador Larroca's Darth Vader series, which we just talked about with Trevor Deutsch. The only things we're maybe going to go out of order for, and I think we will go out of order for these, is when we talk about Die and we talk about Saga. We've read 2 volumes of those books, and I think we're just going to rank them together. Die, I think that definitely makes sense for. Saga, you could talk me in or out of it, though honestly, that's when I didn't get time to go back and reread, and I know what happens in Volume 10, and you'd have to refresh my memory on exactly what happens in Volume 6. So there's that.
Yeah, I loosely remember it. I'm pretty sure we'll get to it.
Yeah.
We'll get to it.
All right, so should we get this thing started?
Let's do
All
it.
right, remember, for now, we're dropping books in A, B, C, D, or F tier. We will probably specifically rank them from, 1 to 49 or whatever, 1 to 47, I think, when you combine Die and
Sure.
Saga. So, like, by the time we're finished with this, we will produce a finalized list of quote-unquote best to quote-unquote worst.
Oh, and we are using a tier list online, and we can probably post it for people to see the actual image, and you can list it for them too.
Yeah, I'll put the tier list in the show notes, and I will make sure to download an image of it before we wrap up, so we have what is the quote unquote finalized ranking.
Right.
I think that's it. Yep, we're ready to go.
All right.
All Star Superman, it's good.
So
Ooh, B, huh?
You just said it's good, and I'm following your ranking. Are you playing with me right
No,
now?
I guess I've misspoke. It's a perfect or near perfect comic? Question mark, Pat?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. That's fine.
No, I was thinking back on this one. I feel like our discussion of it actually did cause me to find holes in it that I hadn't found before, especially kind of with the story's depiction of Lois. Like, the Lois in this story doesn't have quite as much to do as you would hope she would outside of just being Superman's girlfriend, but it's also kind of a Silver Agey story, so that's kind of where she's at that point. So I'm willing to overlook that flaw. It's very good. It's got great art. It's like one of the best Superman stories ever written and ever drawn. There's a reason that it's supposedly the inspiration for the James Gunn Superman movie that's coming up, even though Mr. Terrific is not an All-Star Superman, but whatever.
Yeah, I think the only negative, other than like you say, Lois is sort of a side character, but it is a Superman comic, so I would say you have to have appreciation and enjoyment of the Superman mythos to like a greater extent. It explores a lot of niche Superman, and if you're not game for that, then you may not enjoy it as much.
Yeah, I know Cal actually talked about giving this book to a mutual friend of ours who's not super into comics, and was like, "Oh, this is a great Superman story. You'll love this." And she gave it back to him and was like, what did I just read? So it's hard to have that outside perspective sometimes as a person who's just been in it since 3 or
Sure.
whatever. And I think that's a valuable part of what you bring to the podcast, Pat, is that you can just call me on that bullshit.
As a Superman layman, Frank Quitely's art is amazing to look at.
You can't go wrong, right?
Regardless of, it's great. And you can enjoy the fun back and forth between Luthor and Supes. I mean, you don't need to really have context for that.
The issue where Clark visits Lex in prison, it's got to be an all-timer single issue for me. It's so good.
So
He draws his
good.
eyebrow on, man. It's what are you? It's so good. Yeah. Next to No Notes, All-Star Superman is an all-timer for me. So that is a pretty clear A-tier comic. Drop it in the A-tier,
Agreed.
Pat.
'Tis there.
All right.
All right. Second.
The seconds, yes.
Seconds. How you feeling on seconds?
I like seconds. I've actually been talking this week with guest host Simon Payne about potentially reading Scott Pilgrim for the podcast coming up. And that reminded me that Scott Pilgrim is a little bit better than Seconds, I think, in that there's more there to unpack. But Seconds is still really good. It made me feel feelings, especially when we read it again. I think it was roughly when Kat and I were both turning 30. So it has a lot to say about that experience. I would actually be curious to read it again at this point, having crossed the threshold to see if I have how my feelings have changed since we read it earlier.
Sure.
What are you thinking about Seconds?
Yeah, I would agree that I think Scott Pilgrim, for me, is the more enjoyable. This Seconds is a little more heady, a little more introspective, which is saying something because Scott Pilgrim at times is also that.
Yeah. I like the
But I think the bigger cast in Scott Pilgrim does more for me than
there's
Seconds
more
is
of a
like 2 or
world
3,
there,
right?
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
limited in scope because it's one story within one graphic novel versus getting 6 graphic novels to play its whole thing out. So I
Right.
will say I think the cartooning in Seconds is better than the cartooning in Scott Pilgrim overall. And I enjoyed getting a book that was entirely in color too. So there's that. I don't know why why we're comparing it to Scott Pilgrim when we haven't even read Scott Pilgrim for the podcast. But
Well, I think both of us have read it, but yeah, we haven't done it for the podcast. Yeah. That's fair. So you feeling B?
I'm between A and B on this one, honestly.
Okay, I'm more B.
Okay, I can be talked down to a B. I think we'll come back if we put other things in the B ranking, and I'm like Seconds is way better than this. Then we'll talk. I think is where we're at.
Sure.
Because I don't know. I think it does a really good job of encapsulating that feeling of like I'm stealing Kat's metaphor that she steals from Sylvia Plath again, where you've got all the fruit on the tree, and as you pick the fruit, the other fruit is falling all around you, and that's like the metaphor for your life options kind of like narrowing as you get further on in life. Seconds has a lot to it. I might, I don't know. We'll put it in a B for now. I might talk myself up into a A when we put something in the B range that I'm like, Second.
Sure. Decisions aren't final until they are. So no worries.
It is not carved in stone yet.
All right, number 3, Hawkeye Little Hits. Technically the second. Is this the second volume of this?
It is, yeah.
Series, right? Of Matt Fraction.
Second volume of the Matt Fraction, David Aja Hawkeye run from the Marvel Now era.
Also a strong comic book. This is the one that ends with Pizza Dog, right?
So let me pull it off the shelf here quick. Go over to the shelf if I can get away from my computer here. Oh, this has the issue. Oh God, this is good stuff. This has the issue where he's like defending his apartment building in December. Santa hat. Oh, this has the image that's like stolen from a video game that I have as my computer wallpaper right now.
Oh.
Yeah, this is all. It's got all the ex-girlfriend stuff in it. Oh, this is very good. I say it's an A, personally.
Yeah, I'd say upper B to an A. Okay. So we can stick it in A.
Let's say A for now then.
Right in the A. There we go.
So this is one that I was talking earlier about like how I was thinking sort of like backwards and forwards, like how these volumes that we read fit within their run, and like does that affect whether I would tell you to read this book or not? Like, does the run get better or worse or stay the same? This run's so goddamn good all the way through. Like the third volume, which is basically all about Kate Bishop out in LA fighting against Madame Mask, is just like it's actually I think it's better than this volume, which is very good. Like, is it a comic? So if anyone like hasn't checked back in on that Hawkeye series since listening to our discussion of it, you should. It's really good.
Cool. All right. Now we first run into our first 2 issues in the same tier. Are we going to hold off?
No,
Are we going to hold off into the end?
No,
You're going to actively rank as we go?
Yeah, let's do it. Otherwise, we'll be here all day, right?
Oh. all right.
I mean, it goes below.
So now
it goes below.
Okay, below. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. It's going to get more complicated as we go, but I'm glad we
this is an easy one.
Get to it right now. Okay, cool.
Again, like this is a volume 2. Also, you can't just hand it to someone and be like, "Here, read this." Although, again, All-Star Superman may also be kind of nebulous in that regard. I think there's a higher chance that you could just throw All-Star Superman at someone and they could pick it up and read it. But I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, I hadn't read any of the other Hawkeye issues of that run, and honestly, I didn't miss it. So I think you're okay. I think we're good.
All right. Next up is the first volume of My Love Story, which is a delightful little manga that I really like.
No pun intended.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, but I thought you would. I thought you would notice the pun.
No, it's great. I I think I read the rest of it. I'm pretty sure. I definitely have watched the entire anime at this point.
If I didn't read all of it, I read a lot of it. I think I got into at least the double-digit volumes of it. So I mean, that speaks highly. Like I don't do that for all the books we read.
It's so
An
good.
A?
Yes,
Okay.
I think A.
Perfect.
And I'm
Great.
okay if it's at the bottom of A. But I think it deserves A.
The Hawkeye.
Honestly, maybe even above Hawkeye.
I think the Hawkeye book is
Maybe.
a little bit more technically proficient, is where I'd be at.
Yeah, maybe
like
like the illustrations.
Yeah,
sure.
like I think the art's doing a little bit more work. I think I would put it below Hawkeye, but I think it's close. I think it's close enough that I wouldn't fault you if you wanted to flip it around. But it's just it's so delightful.
It's so good. It's so wholesome. It makes you feel.
I read a bunch of it on a plane, and like air travel kind of sucks, and like it was fine because I was reading this book and it was great. Yeah,
it's just it's good times.
An A and below Hawkeye Little Hits is where I've got it.
I'm good with that.
All right. Next. Oh boy.
Next.
Green Lantern Circle of Fire, which Pat, when we read this with Simon, there was no collected edition of it, so we had to resort to means to read it.
Yes.
There has since,
yes,
as part of
they've collected it.
Publishers collect everything now, man. So there is both DC Universe Stories of Brian K. Vaughan collection, which has the Brian K. Vaughan parts of this separately. That came out, I think, relatively quickly after we talked about this. That came out, but there is an actual collection of this book now on Amazon that you can buy. I think you could probably buy it.
How much is it going for?
Oh gosh, let's look. I linked all of these in the show notes so I could at least like quickly.
Wait, let me guess. Let me guess what it is. I want to say $10.
Oh boy!
If it's any more than $10, I'm going to be upset.
Yeah, what if I told you the Kindle edition is 3 times more than that?
It's just for this?
So yeah. It's
$30 for the entire. Oh my goodness. Well, that's a choice.
Hang on, actually, because now I'm looking at it. It says it collects Green Lantern 129 to 136 also, which I don't remember reading as part of that. So hang on, because I'm pretty sure we just read Green Lantern Circle of Fire 1 and 2, and then the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 one-shots in there where it's all team-ups between...
It told a complete story for sure.
Yeah, like I don't remember reading 7 issues of Green Lantern as part of that. So maybe they've just collected this as part of collecting Kyle's run and like stuck it in with other Green Lantern issues. So the collection is $30, but I think it also includes 8 issues of comics that we did not read. So there's that.
Still,
the fact that it's collected at all is something. It speaks a lot to where we are in the current day and age of like, we're just throwing everything in a book now. Is this, Pat, our first F?
I certainly wouldn't tell people to read it.
I know, it was like, so you sent me your initial ranking like spreadsheet too, and you've got it in you're not worth the read. So it's definitely a D or an F by that criteria, right? Yes. I looked at so like Amazon's got a sample that you can read, and so I read like the first chapter or whatever of it, and I was like, this isn't bad, not great, but like I'm pretty sure the Power Girl issue was not good. Yeah. No. I think Green Lantern Adam Strange was the only one that we liked as part of those 5 team ups. I think Green Lantern was also okay. The one where Kyle and the manifestation of his fridged girlfriend team up. That one was also, I think, good.
Yes, that was.
Like I'm pretty sure the Firestorm Adam and Power Girl ones were not great.
Yes.
I think the Power Girl one was actively bad.
It was the Atlanteans?
Yeah, it was back when Power Girl was like supposedly part Atlantean or whatever, because they couldn't figure out how to make Power Girl have an origin because she comes from Earth 2, but Earth 2 didn't exist. DC's a mess, as we've discussed many times, and will hopefully discuss many times in the future.
Of course. I am leaning more D than F. I don't.
Okay, sell me on that, because I'm honestly like I don't really want to like.
I mean, if you're a Kyle Rayner fan, I think you get something out of this. I don't think it's amazing, but I do think it does explore Kyle Rayner to a degree that they would not hate reading
Yeah,
it.
you gotta read those other issues though too. Like
I
it's
think
kind of wrote.
I think low D.
Okay. All right.
That's where I would put
I don't know
it.
if we're gonna put anything in the F's then at this point, Pat. We're putting this in the D.
We'll see. We'll see. And honestly, maybe it'll fall down to an F. Who
Okay,
knows?
I'm gonna put it in my D column on my spreadsheet here, but I'm gonna put it like way down the page so that I remember that we should probably drop it before the end of the podcast. Because like I just remember
I mean, we're
reading,
gonna go through the list at the end, and we'll see how we feel about
I remember
everything.
reading
But
that
yeah, I
Power
think-
Girl issue and just being like upset about it. And like I don't think the good parts of it are good enough to redeem the just like why 90s DC Comics, why are you doing this to me? We don't need to have this weird event that features Firestorm and the Atom just because they don't have their own books right now. It's fine. You could just have done this story in the normal Green Lantern title, I think.
I mean, let's remember D is still categorized as a bad comic, so I feel like it's okay there. I feel like it's all right.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong in that there is some Kyle stuff there. I think part of what's pulling it down for me too is that some of those same Kyle beats are hit better in other books.
I would hope so. God, I would hope
Like
so.
I think a lot of the like, oh, the JLA trust Kyle stuff is handled really well in Grant Morrison's JLA, which is like a good comic book, and this is like a medium to bad comic book pulled up by the good parts. And like
Sure.
I don't know, but we can leave it low D's for now. We can come back to it the same way that we may rediscuss seconds.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Cool.
The first double.
Moving on. It's Die Volumes 1 and 4. This is an A comic, and you can't talk me out of it.
I wouldn't. I agree that it is an A
Okay,
comic.
great. Let's put it at the top of the list.
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Actually, I expected resistance. Now I have to talk me out of it.
Well, it's okay. It's so weird comparing Die to My Love Story.
This is what I'm saying. This is why I was hesitant to do this, Pat. It's apples and oranges. Personally,
amazing.
and again, like,
Okay,
this is where the
here we go.
subjectivity of it comes in. I got a lot out of Die. It might just have been the point in my life that I was in when I was reading it. It might be because I love games and rules, and Kieran Gillen and I are on like very close to the same wavelength when it comes to considering those things, though he is much better at it than I am. But, like, I love Die. Die is like a desert island comic to me, to the point where I don't know if I told you this yet, Pat. So I have like a standing deal with myself that if I find the hardcover of Die, like the big, beautiful, nice hardcover of it, I'm allowed to just buy it. Like, no questions asked.
Sure.
I found it in Scotland.
Wow.
I didn't have enough room in my backpack to take
No.
it back. Because Kat and I went to Scotland for a week, and we were just out of backpacks, and I was like, it'll be fine. And it's like, got to the comic store in Glasgow, and they had it, and I was like, oh, and it's like kind of on sale too. Like, I really should buy this. And I was like, I'm not gonna carry this around, flying for the next like day and a half or whatever.
Should have let them ship it over for you.
I mean, at that point, I may as well just.
Hey, you made it. You're the one that making deal with yourself. Come on.
I was so close. I even sent, God, we're just going to talk about Cal this whole podcast. I sent Cal a Discord message that day, was like, I found the hardcover of Die in the Glasgow Forbidden Planet and did not buy it. I am a master of restraint. Like, I was very close. I ended up with a smaller book and a less good book, but a book that I did still enjoy. So that's all right. But
is it a limited printing? Like, I hadn't realized that it was such a rare thing
it's
to
just
come
they
across.
didn't make a lot of them because it's kind of a niche. It's a niche format for people who like really love the book that much. I think, like, I've seen the actual physical trades out and about all the time, but like, I like Die.
Does the hardcover come with the rules of the game itself too? Because that would be cool if they combined.
I don't think it comes with like the full source book. It probably comes with all the essays that are in the back of the volumes, though. I would think. That's a good question.
Sure.
I don't know. I'm gonna buy it either way, Pat. That's what's clear to me.
All right.
But okay, now I have to talk myself about putting it as the number one comic on the list. So hang on.
I mean, I would say I like the fact that it's an original concept that puts it, like comparing it to All Star Superman or Hawkeye, little hits.
Yeah, I wonder if it's as universal as like even a My Love Story though.
Well, okay, this is our ranking, Matthew.
Well,
We don't need to
I
worry about the
But
other.
it's part of my consideration is like,
All right. Okay.
again, part of the ranking tiers are like, go read this now. You should read this. It's fine. You probably how I would recommend it to another person does factor into my opinion of where it should go on the list, I guess. See, these are the weird bullshit criteria that we're gonna get into now that we're ranking all these comics.
We open the door. There
Can't
we go.
shut it again. I like that you're the one who was like, I can't rank this against My Love Story. Because this is what I've been saying the whole time.
It's a very weird thing to rank it against. I mean, out of like, I enjoyed both, but it's a different kind of enjoyment, you
I
know?
think Die has more to say than that book particularly.
I mean, there's definitely more depth to Die than there is to My Love
Like,
Story.
let's walk ourselves up the tier from where it is right now. I think it's better than My Love Story because it has more to say. And I also think it's prettier. So there's that.
Sure.
Hawkeye looks so.
I mean, I have no problem moving Hawkeye down below it.
Then I'm fine with that because I'm just gonna show my bias on that one.
And I guess this is the one that would have the most difficulty, but I mean, I could easily be swayed to move Die up to top against Soups.
If you told me I could only keep one, I'd keep Die. So that's where I'm at on it.
Honestly, it's because it's a Grant Morrison, Frank Quitely joint comic. Why I would hesitate to move All Star, because that is just my dream team of comic books.
If it was against the entire run of, well, I guess the entire run of New X-Men's not even just them. I'm trying to think what book would be that book for you, but we can talk about that on the next Power Ranking episode.
I mean, yeah. Right.
I would.
I'm fine with.
Okay, let's do it then, because
I'm fine with it.
I don't
fine
need
with
to
it.
talk myself out of this. It's my podcast.
That's right. A little treat for you, Matthew. You can put that at the
Thanks,
top.
Pat. All right, moving on to another
All right.
romantic comedy manga. We read the first volume
Who knew?
of Wotakoi, Love is Hard for Otaku, with guest host Bryce Manning, and it was delightful. I liked it.
Yeah. I would say right away, not as good for me as My Love Story.
Agree. Yep, definitely.
I'm okay with throwing this in as an average comic.
Yeah.
So below seconds.
I had it initially in my B tier, but I think C tier might be okay, especially because we're going to talk about one more romantic comedy manga at least.
Yes,
And I think that one's better than this one, though I guess we'll get there when we get there.
I don't know. Another Bryce Manning sample, or is this?
No,
I guess they both are.
Yeah,
oh my God, Bryce, what have you done to us?
What is Bryce doing, picking these things that he liked? No, but like so Wotakoi is one that I actually looked at a sample of today also to brush up on, and like I agree with you. I think it's average, and like I think there's some like pacing and jokes that didn't quite land for me here and there too, but like I enjoyed it. Like even reading the sample today, I was like, oh, this is fun. I should read more of this. I haven't yet.
Yeah, I think,
which I think like speaks to the difference between tiers of like I read 12 volumes of My Love Story after we finished it, and Wotakoi's on my like, oh yeah, I should pick that up from the library list.
I think the characters in My Love Story resonate more than the ones from Wotakoi.
Yeah.
I don't know. I did appreciate that Wotakoi is about adults, that they're not high schoolers.
Yeah, agreed.
Which was refreshing.
Yeah, it was nice to see like grown-up people dealing with grown-up life. Like in the bit I read today, they're like he's trash talking her for not being as fast at work as he is. It was like I relate to that a little bit. Anyways, I think C is okay. Like we'll see how the B's land. Like if the B's are noticeably higher, I could see moving it.
It might creep up.
I could see it moving it to a low B, but I think C is fine for the moment.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. We have what I consider to be the C comic, the ideal C comic from which all C comics have sprung. Batman Hush. Move that baby right into the middle of the list for me, Pat.
Okay. All
My
right.
reasoning.
Yes,
The art is
please.
very good.
Yes.
Art is probably honestly like higher tier than C tier art for me at least. I don't know if you
It goes
agree.
through the entirety of Batman's rogue gallery, right?
Yes,
Like
yeah.
we stop in with like
That's the
everybody.
thing is like
Okay.
it's basically a greatest hits album. It's like here's all your faves.
Yeah.
They're doing stuff. There's a mystery. The mystery does not quite make sense in true
It's
Jeff Loeb
such a
fashion.
bad mystery. Holy
I still
moly.
maintained, like when we talked about on the Death in the Family episode, I believe that like the real Hush was supposed to be Jason Todd, and they were like, no, we can't do this. I don't know. It could be either. Jeff Loeb doesn't know how to finish a mystery, so it could be either way. It could be it was
What was this?
exactly, or it could be they copped out.
It was the surgeon, but I'm trying to remember what the motivation for the surgeon to do it
So
was. Like,
it's hilarious, and like other writers have made this good, which is like kind of the joy of superhero comics. Is like the same thing we're talking about with
yeah.
the Star Wars movies. Like you could pick out the good parts and pop them into stories that are actually good. Tommy Elliot was mad at Bruce because he was trying to kill his parents, and Bruce's dad saved his mom.
That's what it was. Fuck.
And so he takes revenge on Bruce later as a guy
That's
wrapped
so
up in
dumb.
bandages.
Oh my god.
There's a run on Detective Comics called Heart of Hush where Paul Dini does some work with that, and it's actually good. Like it's decent to good. It's not gonna blow you away,
Okay.
but it's entertaining.
All
Yeah,
right.
Hush itself, I think, is like an ideal C tier comic, which I guess is why so many people get recommended it. I don't know. Like DC just keeps on pumping out new editions of Hush, and they keep selling, so people like it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. The fact that it's just, oh god, the story is just so dumb. Yeah, okay. It can be a C. Question: is it better or worse than Wotakoi? Love is hard for an otaku.
Apples and oranges, baby. No, I personally would say it's better because the Jim Lee art is very good. That's where I would land on it.
I mean, I would agree the art is probably better, but man, would I read Wotakoi before I would reread Hush?
I mean, this might just be me, but I would see Batman have a sword fight in the desert drawn by Jim Lee before I'd read Wotakoi again.
All right, well, I'll let it go on top for now, and we'll revisit.
I mean, I think
go
that
back.
knocks Wotakoi out of the B tier though, because I'm not moving Hush up. So there's that.
All right. We'll come
We
back.
can talk about it.
I'm okay with it for now.
All right. Batman, Superman, Supergirl. Also Jeff Loeb. Michael Turner on art, so the art's a bit worse than Hush. Story just as nonsensical, if not more nonsensical than Hush. Where you want to put it, Pat?
I mean, C tier.
I potentially had it as a D.
Really?
It's on the bubble for me. Like it's either a top.
Give me. Okay, it's been a while since I've. Give me a general synopsis, like loose.
Yeah. So this is like in the lead up to Infinite Crisis era, where a bunch of like threads of nonsense are pulling together towards one of the big DC crossovers, and as part of that,
Darkseid's in this one.
Darkseid's in this one, yeah. A shower of kryptonite and like a meteor falls to Earth. And in the meteor is like Supergirl's spaceship. Supergirl at this point in continuity does not exist, even though it has existed before. This is a brand new Supergirl, midriff, short skirt.
Oh, this is when Clark's being all pissy at her for wanting to be a normal teenager.
Yeah, and like she's like, "Hey, I was older than you when I left Krypton. Like, get out of my way, bro." And he's like, "No, Kara, that's not how we do it on Earth." And Batman's like super paranoid that she's like some sort of weird sleeper agent or something. But Mr. Miracle and Marta in it, and they're good. I mean, Superman and Darkseid just like punch each other, which is kind of the least interesting Darkseid. But Superman does fly Darkseid into the Source Wall, and that's pretty good.
Oh, that's
but right. Like there's the very obvious and dramatic like she's evil now turn in like the 4th or 5th issue. Wonder Woman shows up and is like, "Hey, I'm gonna train her on Themyscira." Like it's it's a passable comic. I would put it either again like it's either in the spot it's in right now where it's the lowest ranked C comic, or it's an upper D tier comic. Yeah, it does have cool moments. It's got good stuff like. Looking at my like it's fine, or you probably shouldn't read this. I mean, like if you read it, it'd be okay. Maybe it's a low C. I have it on the bubble.
Yeah. I'm okay with low C.
Alright.
We'll see how it goes. Let's see how it
Alright.
lands. Oh, next one.
I like when you make that noise. It makes it obvious roughly where the book is gonna land. This is the first, and so far still only, as far as I know, I kind of did some checking today, volume of Blackbird, which is
it's the only? No, really?
No, they never did another one, which is part of what I think makes this. I think so. I was talking about how like whether there is more and whether the more is good or bad influences my ranking of the comic. I think I'd put this in the D tier because like it wasn't satisfying and they never finished it or like even continued it. Let me double check that. I'm gonna double check just in case because stuff does sneak past me every once in a while these days.
No, it looks like it's just the first 6 still.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it may not have sold well enough. The art's pretty. Looks good.
The art is gorgeous. Like one of the most beautiful books that we've read. But man, is that where the good stops. Ugh, such a disappointment.
Yeah. Just like from what I remember, not good concrete rules, like kind of samey magic system, like and the story itself was not satisfying. I haven't really thought about it much since we talked about it, to be honest with you, which I think says a lot about for where it should be on the list.
It really feels like they were trying to mimic Wicked and Divine with this series, and it just wasn't.
I don't know if it was the same moment in time quite or not. I mean, it says in the description, actually, like, perfect for fans of sci-fi's The Magicians, The CW's Riverdale, and The Wicked and Divine, which, like, Riverdale and The Wicked and Divine are very different things. So I don't know how we're mashing those up here, but
yeah, that was a wide shot.
This is a spray and pray for sure.
Oh God, it is gorgeous, but yeah, that
I would put it above. I would put it above Green Lantern Circle of Fire. I think.
Oh, yes,
yeah,
yes. Like, just looking at the pictures is worth it more than Green Lantern.
I'm seeing now. Here's where I'm looking at Batman, Superman, Supergirl, and I'm like, I don't know. I might tell you to flip through Blackbird before I've told you to flip through that. I don't know.
But I would say that Supergirl's story is better than. I mean, it's not good, but it certainly is there.
Yeah, and like is complete. Also, I don't know.
And you have like you feel for the characters more than you would in the characters from Blackbird.
We might circle back on that one.
Okay, I'm okay with it being D above Circle.
Yeah, I guess the circling back I was talking about is like, do I think Batman, Superman, Supergirl is really better than it? I don't know that I do.
Sure, that's fair.
Next is a good book.
Yeah,
another Bryce pick.
It is. It's true.
This is X-Men God Loves Man Kills. Possibly the best unit of X-Men comics?
When you say unit, what do you mean?
You can hand it to someone and be like, this is the X-Men. And you've done it. You've told them what the X-Men is. I see.
As a sampler of what the X-Men is.
Yeah, and like a good sampler.
I can see
like
that.
It's got basically all of it.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I can't argue with that. It was a little trite for me. Like you could feel the age of this comic.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I don't know that knocks it down that much for me.
There was some weird racial stuff with the gangs at the beginning.
Yes, that is true.
I would throw it in low B, maybe even a high C for me.
Okay.
Let's
I think we're landing in the B's then, because I think honestly I'd put it in the A's. So
really interesting. Explain your A.
I mean, again, it having been a little while since we got it, and it being a book I got from the library, I didn't get to flip through it as much as I would hope. But like, I think there are just like some really strong scenes in it that I remember. There's the bit where basically, I think it must be William Stryker, because that's who the bad guy is. And it is like pointing at Nightcrawler and saying like, human, you dare call that thing human? And like, that's a fairly iconic panel. Like, I know we talked about how cool the scene of Magneto like descending upon the Capitol was when we did it. Like, I don't know.
Sure.
It's got all the X-Men stuff in it, and like the X-Men are good, so therefore it is good.
That's fair.
That said, like if you want to put it in B, I think That's fair also. Like it definitely does have some stuff that dates it. I do remember us talking about some of the weird racial stuff near the beginning of the book when we talked about it. So I'm fine. I'm fine with a B. B is okay. All right. So where do you want to put it in the B's? You want to put it above or below seconds?
This is weird rankings right now.
Welcome to my mind.
I'm flipping through. Nightcrawler's threatening to kill a man. Oh, there's that gang though. I'm okay with where it is. I would say seconds above.
Okay.
God Loves Man Kills.
I don't even know if we'll revisit that one. I think that's fine.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Next one. Ghost Rider: The Last Stand. That's the Ghost Rider versus Ghost Rider.
Yeah, what if Jason Aaron did with Ghost Rider what Jeff Johns did with Green Lantern?
Personally, I would have it either at a high D or a low C.
I think I also was on a C for that. Yeah, I got that in the C's.
Okay. I would.
I think I'd put it above the Supergirl stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was feeling. Just because the art in that is just so crazy.
I do believe I eventually finished that also. I think I did like buy the second volume or whatever from what we read, and it was fun. Like it is. I mean, it's got Jason Aaron doing the orb in it. You can't go wrong, right? Like.
Oh yeah, the orb. Yeah, no, that's
except when you can, and we'll talk about that later. Yeah, I enjoyed reading this Ghost Rider stuff. It's also like kind of wild to me, and we'll talk about this one when we get to Original Sin also. Like it's kind of wild to me how much of this Ghost Rider stuff just continues to keep popping up because Jason Aaron kept writing Marvel Comics until basically this year. So like stuff just keeps happening like that references stuff from this run. So it's good. It's fun. It's flaming guys on motorbikes fighting each other.
Okay. Are you okay with where it's at in the C ranking? Are you saying that?
Yeah, I think
Wotakoi
is like I think Wotakoi is more recommendable if that makes sense.
I think it would have wider appeal, sure.
Yeah.
This is a weird thing that we're doing.
Dude, I've been trying to tell you for like the last 30 years.
All right. Next one. Barrier.
It's good. Is it very good?
See, I would say that Private Eye I enjoyed more than Barrier.
That doesn't mean we can't put them both in the A's, Pat.
This is true. This is very true. I mean, I would put it above the two that we have in B for sure.
Right. I think.
So let me just put it up here and how I feel. Yeah, okay. Move it here. Yeah, okay with that.
All right, you're moving it past my love story for the people who are not watching your screen.
You know what?
Or are you moving it past Hawkeye? We gotta start talking, I think.
Yeah, I think here is where it makes sense to me.
Okay. Oh, that's such a. Oh, this is where I'm just like, tear my heart out. Make me pick between Marcos Martin and David Aja. Like, come on. It's so rough. What a problem to have.
It's such like just the format of it, like the layout of it, and the fact that it plays with languages so much. That's just fun.
Yeah, it's very clever. I mean, the problem is that Hawkeye is also very clever. I think. Oh, here's where I think I'm going to land on it. Is A, I think I'm going to let you win, and B, I think the reason is that it's a complete unit of story by itself.
Yeah.
Barrier.
I think more people, if you hand them Barrier, if you didn't like Hawkeye and like superheroes, you would still really love Barrier. Like there isn't that trip up with that one.
And it's such a good book, and it's very like easy to read also because Marcos Martin is so good at like pacing and drawing you across a page, even with these like weirdly laid out pages because the book is sideways compared to a normal comic. Like it has a lot of really clever stuff going on. So I'm fine with it being above Hawkeye, knowing that also means the Private Eye is probably going to be above Hawkeye then.
This is true.
I guess we might actually have a discussion about that when we get there, whether it's Barrier or Private Eye, because I might pick Barrier. We might fight about it.
I know. I'm starting to waffle myself. So we'll see. Okay. We'll see what happens. That's in the future. No one can
Yeah,
tell.
very good. A pick from noted co-host and wife Catherine Prince.
Noted wife and
Noted
co-host.
wife and
Yes.
co-host Catherine Prince. Who has been forced to read Saga twice and does not want to read it on this podcast anymore. But we'll get there when we get there. First, we got to talk about the Green Lantern.
The Green
Yeah,
Lantern.
the Ohio State University.
Oh, I honestly, as a fan of Green Lantern, I didn't enjoy this one as much as I was hoping.
Yeah, I mean, I
would.
remember because I think I picked this book for us to read because it was just you and me talking about it, and I was like, it's Grant Morrison, it's Green Lantern. I likes
Yeah.
both those things. We'll enjoy this.
True.
And I remember I was higher on it than you. Like
Yes.
both of us thought like this one might be too strange. Like this one might be a little bit too weird, Grant. And this is when I look back through
Yeah.
today. Because like I said, I bought volumes 2, 3, and 4 of this. It basically goes, there's like a first 12-issue season, and then there's like a little 3-issue miniseries, and then there's like a second, I think it's 12-issue season, and that's the run.
Oh.
It's fucking weird, man. It's so weird. It gets even weirder than it is in this first volume. And like I was looking at the art's really good. Once
Yeah.
you take out the fact that all the Green Lanterns look like humans but with stuff on their heads.
Yeah.
Like there's lots of really
Very Star Trek.
unorthodox there's like lots of unorthodox page layouts. There's lots of really cool space stuff in a way that like you and I have both read the Jeff Johns stuff, and like that's so much more focused on like just colors and like
Yeah.
people, and this has technology and space and spaceships and planets and like aliens in a way that the Jeff Johns stuff does not really. And I really appreciate that about it. It's still a really weird book though. I don't know.
I'm gonna let me just do a thing and see how you feel about it. Okay.
Yeah. Ooh.
I plopped it down in the beginning of C tier, listeners.
Yeah. So, which for reference at the moment puts it below God Loves Man Kills, which is correct.
Mhm.
Above Hush,
Which is
I
also
think
correct.
is correct. Yeah. So then is it a B or a C? I think it's probably a C. I think it's too weird.
As a fan of both, like on paper, I should really like it. I did not really.
I want to.
It was okay.
I want to go back and reread the whole run from start to finish because there's a lot of like interconnected stuff in the way that the Grant Morrison run will always have a lot of stuff that comes from issue 1 to issue 25 and shows up again.
Sure.
So I want to give it another chance as a run too, but it's a really weird book. I was rereading the the issue where quote unquote God shows up to like save humanity.
Yes.
It's still really fun. It's really weird though. And, like it ends up God is just like a planet eater, and then the Earth is like okay with it. It's like it's fine. We have superpowers for a minute.
And we're having a
We're
good time.
selling out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think high C tier is where I would land. I think that's probably right.
Next one. 100 Nights of
What are
Hero.
you thinking? What are you feeling?
I compare this one to the other independent comic that Cal suggested.
Gosh.
Guys.
We found out
Or
when
Gesh,
we
yeah.
recorded that episode that it's Gosh.
Yes. And I liked the world building in Gesh much more than Hero. 100 Nights of
Yeah,
Hero.
I think Gosh is better for sure.
Also, the art
agree.
I think is more.
The art grows on me for 100 Nights of Hero, honestly. Like, it takes me a little bit, but I was flipping back through that one today too, because that's one I haven't picked up since we talked about it. And I was like, like I enjoy this book. I
Mhm.
think I'm on. So I had it initially in my ranking here as an A. I don't think I'm going to get that from you. And also, I'm not sure I agree with me. Oh, you're putting it in C's? That's not right. That's not right, Pat. It's higher than a C. It's better than the Green Lantern Volume 1. And not just by like
I have it better than Green Lantern.
not just
I have it better.
not just by a negligible like inch difference. It's a tier above that to me.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll move it up for
I
now.
mean, if I'm on A maybe B and you're on I think C maybe B, given you put it at the top of the C's, I think B is the right spot for it.
Okay. All right.
It's an enjoyable story with stuff to say.
Yes. I think it was too Poetic? Is that a thing I want to say? Something like that? I don't know. It wasn't. It
Almost the
didn't
right
jive
word.
with me.
Yeah, it has that
Yeah.
feeling. It's got a moodiness to it that I think you could say is poetry-esque, poetic.
Yeah.
So you like
But yeah,
it?
it can. It can.
You like it at the bottom of B's then?
Yeah, I think so. For
I
now,
think I'm not
so
gonna
B shapes
fight
up.
with you about it at the moment. We'll
I
come
don't.
back
I
to
mean,
it.
honestly, this movement here, I don't know how to feel about this. So
Yeah, I
moving, God loves, man
in
kills,
front or
and
behind
100
of it.
Nights of Hero.
I think I would.
Yeah,
I think I would
I don't
flip
know.
them so 100 Nights of Hero is higher,
Okay,
and then
I'm
we
fine
got to
with that.
think about it versus seconds, but we can do that later.
I feel like I enjoyed Seconds much more than 100 Nights
Okay,
of Hero.
then we'll
So
leave it the way it is.
okay, this feels right.
Yeah.
Feels right
Okay,
to me.
I'm good with that.
Okay, all right. Next one.
The unbeatable Squirrel Girl. She beats up the Marvel Universe. That's the story.
That's just it's a delightful
It's
comic.
really good. It's fun.
I'm okay giving it an A.
Ooh, in the A's. All right. I had it as a
It's either A or the top of
I
the
had
B.
it as a high
So
B personally.
okay,
So
okay.
uh, like I think I would rather read seconds again, honestly.
Oh, then Marvel or Squirrel.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Like Squirrel Girl's fun. It's really good. It was a good choice by guest host Simon Payne. I had a good time reading it and talking about it. I think seconds maybe has more to say as a unit. So like that's why I would potentially put it below seconds.
Yeah, yeah, I'm okay with that.
Then versus 100 Nights of Hero, I don't think I'm going to get you to budge on that. So I think we're fine there.
Yeah, I think that makes so seconds and then Squirrel.
And then 100 Nights of Hero.
Yeah.
Okay.
Indeed.
I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. It's so tough. It's like, and I realize this is like a pointless made up problem that we made for ourselves, but like this is part of why I was like, oh, my babies, I can't put them against each other. I like most comic books so much. Let's talk about this comic book though.
I was gonna say leading into
Nancy Drew
Nancy Drew and the Hardy
and
Boys.
the Hardy Boys, The Big Lie.
The biggest lie.
Choice by guest host John O'Gurney, who I picked it out of nostalgia for Hardy Boys books. And we didn't like the book, but we had a really good discussion about a lot of stuff. So like that's what I think
It was an amazing episode.
it's one of my favorite episodes that we've recorded. Like I was thinking about it for like days after we got done. Yeah, I actually just wrote John an email the other day, a message the other day saying like, I always love having you on the podcast. We need to talk about more weird, obscure fiction that I have not encountered. But this book's not great.
No.
And Jono would admit that and did admit that, I think, throughout the episode. I don't even know if admit is the right word because he just picked it because he wanted to read it. He didn't know whether it was good or bad.
Yeah.
So you're on our first F of the episode, I think, is what you're showing me here.
I just put it there. I put it there to see how it felt. And so far, I'm not liking that.
So I went back through this one today. I told you this before we
Okay.
started recording because like this is one that I feel like a shaky recollection of exactly why I felt like I disliked it as much as I did. Like I was like, I know I didn't like this book, but I'm not sure exactly like what is driving that feeling. And I look back through it today and like it's not good. Like the plot's kind of cliched and like it does that like that CW Riverdale thing so much, which I think we talked about when we were talking about it, where it's like this is real world. This isn't your young adult fiction. Like slam your head into this desk, kid. This is a police interrogation, and like it goes over the top with it. And it not only does that, like you can get away with doing that once, like it's fine, but like it does it basically every single issue. There's one instance of someone saying like, "Oh yeah, this isn't your mom's young adult detective story," like basically just staring at the camera, saying that. So like it's got big flaws, and like the other thing that I think we picked it apart for, which I know, well, two things we picked it apart for. I know Jono really didn't like the story's use of Tom kind of just like relegated to a background character, like their helper guy who always speaks in riddles and happens to coincidentally be black. So we faulted it for that. And I think we also faulted it for not really ending in the same way that we kind of
Yes.
faulted Blackbird of like the mystery it's doing kind of wraps up, but doesn't really because it ties into like a larger mystery that apparently they'll solve in the next volume, which is the death of Nancy Drew. Where spoilers, Nancy Drew's not dead.
What?
Yeah, and this one does so. This is a thing that I don't know if we talked about when we talked about the book initially, but it's something that I know I've seen a couple writers kick around since. Like the first issue cliffhanger is just that Nancy Drew shows up, and the title of the book is The
Yeah.
Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew: The Big Lie. Like not a first issue cliffhanger to be like, here's Nancy Drew. It's on the title, guys. She's the main character
Oh.
featured on the cover. There's a lot of failings, but I don't know that it's an F. I don't know that it's like that bad. Like if someone was like, "Hey, I'm gonna read this," I'd be like, "Well, are you nostalgic for Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys? You might
I
get something out of it." In the same way that I think you were like for the Green Lantern book, if you like Kyle, you might get something out of it. Like I think I'd put this above Circle of Fire. Actually, I will say spoilers.
No.
That Circle of Fire, this book, and one other book are the books I had like as potential Fs in my opinion.
Ooh.
So I like rereading it today. I think I've talked like I knocked myself out of it being an F. But like if you really want to put it there, I don't think I have a great argument for not, other than the art is decent. Although I don't think you liked the art as much as I did. So there's that.
No, yeah, it was pretty mid for me.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, for me, it's either here or it's the lowest in the D.
Okay. Well, here's what we'll do. We'll put it in the Fs for now. Drop it into F as the only
Okay.
F for the moment. And when we get to the other
Alright.
book that I'm pretty sure is an F, we'll
Yeah.
see how it compares. How about that?
All right. Seems
Cool.
fair.
Next up is the first
Next up,
volume of Fables, which we read with
Legends in Exile. Yeah, Susie. I mean, oh, Fables.
Fables. A book that I read once, kind of liked, read it again, and liked it less.
Yeah, I like the concept is really fun, and I really enjoyed the Telltale game, which I'm blanking on what it's called right now.
The Wolf Among
I
Us,
think
right?
it's like a legacy. Wolf
Yeah.
Among Us. Yes,
I have
thank
not
you.
played that, but I encounter it enough.
You should. It's well done. I like the story of volume 1. I didn't enjoy that much.
I think it was fine. Like I actually like the story of Volume 1 in that it's like pretty much a classic like
Murder mystery,
Yeah.
whodunit kind of thing.
Which
Mhm.
I'm a sucker for those, so that's probably part of it. I like murder mysteries. But man, it does just hit you over the same way the same exact way, honestly, the Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys thing hits you over the head with this one's for grown-ups. Fables does it, but
Yeah.
like worse, honestly. Like there's so many F-bombs that just don't need to be in the book.
I mean, it's the world building for me that gives it the boost that it has. Just the concept of what fairy tales in the real world, like, what are they up to? What would they be doing? What, like, how are they
Yeah, and there's the stuff about like being
living in the real
cast
world?
out of their homeland and stuff too, and there being a war there, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Not cool, I guess. Interesting. Sorry, wrong word.
One of many of, oh wow, the world and like the mystery, the greater mystery they set up is really cool. This single issue or single volume story, not so much.
Yeah, and like even then, so again, talking about like how does it, if I tell you to read Fables, are you going to be happy reading Fables to the end of the run? You are not, from what I have read and from what I've read about people's opinions about like volume 10 or whatever onwards. And now it's in a weird like spot where the creator is trying to say it's public domain because they're having a fight a fight with DC, but DC's like, that's not how that works, bro. You can't just say something is public domain. So that's something to like. This volume's not great, and it goes on to be kind of a mess. Yeah.
I've put it at the bottom of C tier, and I'm sort of okay with it there.
To me, it's kind of comparable with Blackbird. Like,
I would agree.
I think I'd put it top of D for now, honestly.
And we're saying it's better than Blackbird because there's a story.
It is
and the
it is at
world
least a complete
makes more
story, and the
sense.
characters are a little bit more fleshed out. Yeah, even if it is like hitting you over the head with sex and f bombs and stuff. Pinocchio being trapped in a body where he can't have sex. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! How terrible! How terrible! How terrible!
Oh God, yeah, I forgot about that.
I think there is still more to recommend Fables than there is Blackbird. Unfortunately, I wish it was the other way around. Honestly,
Yeah, it does feel weird to say it, but I agree. So yeah, top of D tier, I think, for now.
I'm good with that.
Cool. Next,
Batman, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, Marifki recommendation,
Turtles in a bat cave. Bat power.
which was just a fun
was
comic,
good.
really, like all
Yeah,
around. Yeah,
It has so like thinking through these comics, I'm like, what specific scenes or like moments do I remember? And like there's the moment where Batman takes Raphael to his parents' grave to explain like why he fights crime. So good.
yeah,
It's so good. It will always stick with me forever. To me, this is a low B tier comic.
yeah. I feel that.
Okay. Like I think it's better than our C tiers, noticeably. Like I think the art is good. I think the characters are spot on. Like I think James Tynion the Fourth nails all of the Turtles and Batman in a way that it's accessible to anyone who knows something about those characters. Like you're not gonna just hand it to someone and be like, "Here, read this." Like if you like Batman and you like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you'll like this. It's two great tastes that taste great together in this case.
I'm having a little bit of trouble with keeping the Green Lantern below. I feel like I might put that above Batman TMNT.
Interesting. 'Cause I don't think I would, honestly. Why do you say so?
I think it's because I have more of affinity for Green Lantern than I do Batman or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think that's where it's coming for me.
Yeah.
My loyalties to the core.
Like, as a story, did you like it more? I mean, the answer could be yes, honestly. Like, I remember liking issues of that Green Lantern book. Like, I liked the God issue. I think I liked the vampire issue more than you did, where he's just basically running through a crypt planet. Like, I enjoyed that. So, like, if you want to put the Green Lantern in a low B's, we can talk. We may end up.
But you want to keep TMNT in B.
Yes,
correct?
I think I'm fine with it being the lowest B at this point. Because I like it is just a solid comic, but like it's a very good solid comic. Like I think the art's very good.
See, I don't like the Green Lantern up in B. I'm gonna put him back down.
We can come back
let's keep it there.
Okay. We can come back to it.
So we got TMNT, Batman, lowest of B tier, and then C tier starts with
the Green Lantern.
Okay. The Green Lantern.
Volume 1.
How? Yeah, I'm okay with that.
All right. Next up.
Moving
Atomic
on.
Robo and Other Strangeness. A volume of Atomic Robo that's like basically 5 little shorts. All of which are at least good, some of which are very good. That's where I'm at on it.
I put it in C tier.
Okay. Interesting.
I would put it probably top C tier.
Okay. That's where I was like, okay, I think it's better than all the C tier comics we have so far. So we're at least like close to the right spot.
That feels right to me because I don't think it's better than our B tiers currently.
I think it's comparable to Batman TMNT, which maybe that just means Batman TMNT should be a high C tier.
Quite, yes.
So
I enjoyed Atomic Robo, but it does feel like a web comic of its time.
Technically not a webcomic at this point in the run, but it does become a webcomic later, so that's interesting that you would say that.
Interesting.
I get where you're coming from. Like I understand that statement. And like that volume is like just a good volume of Atomic Robo, and there are like great volumes of Atomic Robo. Let me think on that one. I think like it's pretty close to the right spot. If it is a B, it's not a high B. Like I'd recommend you read Seconds or Squirrel Girl or 100 Nights of Hero. God Loves Man Kills. I'd put all those above it. So that's close to right.
Just the turtles and the bat.
Yeah, it's pretty comparable to the turtles, but that I don't know. That is a little bit meatier.
Personally,
story.
I would put that above Atomic.
Okay. All right. Let's leave it there.
So I mean, jumping tiers is a thing I guess we could argue about.
I'm
But
just like, if I'm looking at Atomic Robo and Other Strangeness versus Batman Hush, like one of the things that one of the comics podcasts I at least used to listen to does is the walking out the door test. So when they're ranking books, they have a thing called Every Story Ever. This is War Rocket Ajax. They do the like
Yeah.
walking out the door test, which is like if they're both on a table and you're just going to like sit in a waiting room or something,
snag?
like which one are you picking up? It's like it's Atomic Robo every time.
between that and Hush is what you're
Yeah,
saying?
so like
Well, I mean, I agree too.
yeah, I'm like, is
That's
it
why
enough
it's
of a noticeable
above.
difference for it to be a low B? I don't know. Let's find out.
For me, it's not, but
Okay, let's keep it where it is
it
for now.
could be hashed out.
It's
Yeah.
close. It's in the right spot. It's just whether it's in the right tier, which is not
That's
a
right.
terrible. I don't know, not a terrible injustice at least. Oh man, we're down to 2 rows of images on the
I
Burger King
know.
thing. This is going fast.
We're doing it. Well, listener, you decide. Is it going fast?
Going fast for me. I don't know. You can always play it at 1.3
Speedy.
speed. That's what I do when I post the podcast. I always listen to it at like 1.33 as I'm writing up the show notes.
Wow. Well, I play it at 1x speed. That's how much respect I have for our podcast.
I would assume you have to play
Also,
it at much slower speeds when you're editing, but
It's true, I do.
right.
Okay, next. Gesh.
Yes, the first volume, A Matter of
Gesh.
Life and Death.
Yeah.
This one's real good. I
Yeah.
think it's probably an A.
Ooh, interesting.
I had a lot of fun reading this book and talking about this book, which may color my opinion of it, I guess. But like, I like the artwork. I like the story. It's got games and rules, so I mean that's an A comic book. If it has games and rules, you just Yu-Gi-Oh right at the top.
Oh damn! Oh damn! What does Pot of Greed do? I forget.
Draw some cards.
Oh,
But
okay.
I see you hovering in the B.
This is where I would put it.
Okay.
Yeah, this is where I would put it. I put it in B, second from the top, behind second.
Did you finish it ever? Did you read volumes 2 and 3?
No, I've only read this one volume.
Okay, there's that.
And it is a beautiful physical book, and yeah, and it's a fun world. It's well illustrated, but I think I liked, as you've been saying, what Seconds had to say more than what Gesh was throwing down.
Oh, gosh, it's so pretty and it's got games and rules, Pat. Oh, I don't know if I can accept this. This might be the first fight we have. So, well, I'm thinking on that.
The story was a little too simplistic for me for Gesh. It felt a little. I wanted more complexity.
Well, you got to read volume 2
It started off strong.
I'd be so interested.
That's fair. That is not what
No,
we're
I know,
reading.
I understand. I'd be so interested to read the rest of it with you. I bet Cal's sitting out there somewhere listening to this and he's like, that's what we're reading next. I'd be so interested to read the rest of this with you and see if you still want to drop it below Seconds. I'm still not sure we even should do it. While I think about that, let me tell you about how they murdered my boy, though. So,
Oh no.
the volume you have, the first volume, is like a really nice, like tall, rectangular, like well-bound, really well put together book, right? Second volume, same structure, same nice looking binding, same like kind of gold foil trim on the letters that are the title, really good, tall illustration. The third volume, it got kicked to another publisher. It's like 4 inches shorter, 2 inches narrower, like, and it's still really good, but like I'm looking at it on the shelf here, and like it's not even called
You gotta.
Curse of the Chosen. They re-released all the volumes in this format, I think, at least, so like you could have it looking the same from start to finish, but like I like the other one so much better. I just wish. Anyways, Gesh is good though, even though they did it dirty.
That's heartbreaking.
I want to put it above Seconds, Pat. I want to put it above My Love Story, honestly.
I don't. I don't want that.
Okay.
I will give. I might be able to be convinced to give it above Seconds in B tier, but I don't. Again, this probably would have changed if I had read volumes 2 and 3, but I've only read the one, And the story, while intriguing and fun, was just too simple.
But it
I liked what it was setting up. It just didn't. It didn't get its hooks deep enough.
put it above seconds. Compromise.
Okay,
Alright.
I can do that.
It's an A tier comic though, but that's okay. We'll talk. I got it.
Volume 1 by itself is, for me, it's not an A tier
Okay.
comic.
All right. I mean, I respect that opinion,
Thank you.
even if it's wrong. Next up, a book that I feel like I was more down on than I expected to be when we read it, which may have been down to the medium in
Aw.
which I was forced to read it.
Oh,
The
maybe.
Sandman Endless Nights,
The Endless Nights.
also known as Sandman Volume 11 these days.
Yeah, it's pink. It's weird.
Yeah, don't love it. Like the original cover better. That's okay.
I mean, it's Sandman, so my first inclination is to just.
I know. I
rocket
was
it
gonna
up to
say
A
like
tier.
you're dropping it an A. I understand this. Now we need to actually talk about where it goes.
I mean, I could be convinced to drop it down to B even, but it's just, it seems like heresy.
Yeah, I think. I mean,
I'm okay with
my
that.
inclination is actually also A for all the like fake whining that I've done up to this point. I'm trying to remember which of this when we ranked it. How did we rank the stories?
no.
What was your ranking of the stories in this story? Sub ranking.
Oh, jeez.
I remember liking the Desire story a lot. I remember not being able to read the Delirium story because it was on my Chromebook and it just made it unreadable, which is not.
I had Delirium much higher.
Yeah,
than you.
which again is
I
not a
remember that.
fault of the story, I guess. Like so much as it just
Yeah.
did not work for the device I was reading it on, and that made me very like it made me put it very low.
I'm pretty confident that I put Dream as the first one because I do love that.
Oh, that one is
short
good.
story of
Yes.
Dream.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one.
And I think my lowest was maybe, it was either Despair or Destruction. I think.
I do
think that's
remember
where that
you
ended up
not
for me.
liking the Destruction one.
It just didn't do much for me.
Despair's
It was okay.
There's
It
that
just-
very weird one, which is just like 15 like one-off illustrations, right? Like
Yeah.
almost not quite even a comic book.
Yeah, but some of the descriptions, Matt, resonated with me deeply.
It was pandemic times.
Post quarantine. Yeah.
I don't even think this was post
I think we
quarantine.
made-
I think this was quarantine.
Yeah. The description of us being the trailer full of dead cats. Oh,
Yeah, it did hit. It
Oh.
did hit at the time.
let me tell you, I might still be in that trailer, Matt. Not gonna lie.
Ooh, Pat.
So yeah, yes, A tier for sure.
A
what I
is
would
fine
say.
with me. So let's walk it. Let's
But
walk it. Let's
now-
walk it up or down the tier.
I've already moved it past My Love Story. Arguments?
No, I think it's more interesting, like at least visually. Like again, this if it was just like novels, I think I might have an argument, but like it's a comic book and
Yeah.
Endless Nights is like really visually interesting. Say what you will about whether it all works or not. Like it's doing a lot of cool
Yeah.
stuff.
I would even be okay with this one.
So it's not going past barrier. That barrier is
The next step is would have to be I'd have to search my soul a little bit.
so it's just whether I would rather give you Hawkeye or I would rather give you the Sandman Endless Nights. And it really depends on the person at that point. It's as though they're apples and oranges.
I mean, honestly, I could go either way here.
Oh no,
depending on the
you're
person.
not moving it past barrier.
Well, you're saying barrier's the barrier, huh? Okay, all right, fair
I
enough.
think there's enough stuff that doesn't work or is too weird in Endless Nights for me to put it above barrier personally. Let me flip.
So
let me
I feel
flip
like
through this
when you were
Hawkeye
talking
book
about
here.
when you were talking about God Loves Man Kills as like a sampler of what the X-Men is, I feel like that does the same thing as Endless Nights
Sandman?
for me.
Yeah.
For Sandman. Like if you want to get a taste of what you're in for with the Sandman, read Endless Nights. And I think we debated about whether or not people should read it as a prologue or not.
Yeah.
And
And I said,
it could be
very
still.
much no. I'm pretty sure is where I landed because like there's so much
Yeah.
of the lore of the series wrapped up in that book, like the dream thing.
Well, yeah, this is interesting. On the other side of the series, now that we've done the Dream Journal,
Yeah.
do you still have the same opinion?
Yes, I think I do.
Yes, you still don't want to read it until you've read all the.
Yeah,
other-
I think I'd still read it as if we had done the Dream Journal and we had read it as
Interesting.
volume 11, I think that would have been correct.
So 11 would be before
0, yeah.
0.
Yeah,
Okay.
comic book numbering, baby. Yeah, I think there's just like some of the stories I think work as one-offs without having to know anything about it, but like the dream story especially, like I don't think you should read that dream story before you read
Well, Dreams
proper.
The only one that doesn't make sense is the Delirium because it's a direct chronological story from the parts of
Yeah.
of the main
I mean,
series.
also I feel like the Endless's whole deal is just not really explained super well, so you might bounce off because of that. I don't think
For Endless Nights?
I wouldn't give this. I would not start a Sandman reader with this. That's for sure.
Fair enough.
Unless you just want them to look at the art and be like, "Hey, this is some of the cool art stuff you might be in for." Because I think it is representative of that.
It gets you the Neil Gaiman weird. Like, and if that hooks you, then let me tell you, you're gonna have a great time with Sandman.
So odd to compare this Hawkeye volume to this Sandman book.
So you have a stronger attachment to Hawkeye than I do. I have
Not
no
really,
qualms
honestly. I just really like this run. Like Hawkeye's whatever to me, except for Kate. I love Kate. Kate's really good.
Sure, fair. And Pizza Dog. I mean, come on.
I mean, Pizza Dog is an original creation of the Fraction Aha run, so
For sure.
things you
Yeah.
have for Pizza Dog are bound up in that volume we read, Pat.
Also, the dude on the roof that's grilling food that I can't remember what his name is.
I want to put Hawkeye above it because Hawkeye is fun. Does that make sense?
Oh no, that's not fair. Sandman's fun,
Pat, you
Still
just
kinda
talked
fun.
about how it made you feel like you were dead cats in a box.
dude. Yeah, come on. Comics make you feel things, Matt.
They do. I understand. That's part of why they're good. Ooh, I didn't think this was going to be as tough of a decision, like a toss-up for me as it is. Let's keep it where it is for now.
Ruminate a little bit.
I'm
see
not
how it
even sure we're
goes,
going to
yeah.
ruminate on it. Like I'm thinking about it as far as
Okay.
just like the different types of stories and the different types of art in it. Maybe make it a higher ranking than the Hawkeye run. Even though going out the door test, I would grab the Hawkeye run every time.
See, that's the opposite for me.
Yeah, I know.
For sure.
We'll leave it where it is for now, and I think it'll probably stick.
Okay. All right. Next one. Doctor Strange Way of the Weird. Another Marifki.
Yeah, it's fine.
It was okay.
Yeah, that's where I'm at on it.
C. Slowly bringing up the scale.
Yeah, I had it in C's for sure. Just another one where like completing the story makes the story a little bit worse. So there's that to keep in mind also.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Because we only read half of the hey, he's come to swallow up all the magic. What's happening next thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the volume I bought of that has that whole story. And I did the thing I do where I'm like, I'm only going to read the first half and I'll read the second half after we talk about it because I don't want to have spoilers that I have to avoid saying.
Right.
The second half is whatever. It's fine. Like the Ghost Rider run I think is better, so it might be in the right spot right now.
I think I'm okay with that.
I would,
because I did like Ghost Rider going around trying to find other Ghost Riders. That was fun.
yeah. I mean, the Doctor Strange thing is
can't
like we're
think
gonna
of-
round up all the magic users and get them together, and then we're gonna get rid of the generic magic eating bad guy. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm okay with where it is
Yeah.
at, which is below Ghost
yeah,
Rider.
I would definitely give you Wotakoi or even Hush beforehand, because Hush. Well, I mean, the art in the Doctor Strange one is not really a.
No.
I liked the art in it. It was weird. It was funky. It was cool.
Yeah.
I think the story in Hush is a little bit better. We're just saying something.
See, what I'm interested is when we get to our next Doctor Strange, where that one lands for you compared to this
I mean,
one.
I liked that book more than you guys liked it, so I guess we'll see.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. It's very similar to me for this one. So. Okay, Ready to move on?
Yep.
Okay. Next is Pulp.
Pulp.
Simon Payne recommendation. I feel like it's a C tier for me.
Really? I had it higher than that. I was like, I have it in my initial A's here, but I'm like looking at it, I'm like, I could knock it down. Let's sort it out. Put it at the top of the C's now for you.
Yeah. I'm okay with that. I could maybe see it creeping up past TMNT Batman.
Yeah, I think I would rather read it than TMNT Batman, which I think is saying something. Although I'm not as big of a Turtles person as I am a Batman person, so there's that. I think God Loves Man Kills is a little bit stronger.
I would
Pulp
agree.
is kind of like a little bit generic and stuff, but it has a lot. I don't know. It has some stuff to say. Like the art is good. It's not.
I'm gonna float a thing, and we'll see how you feel about it. I'm gonna do this and do this.
No, I don't.
I just moved Pulp and Batman TMNT listeners from B to C.
No, because like
You don't think so?
I would actually recommend you read Pulp. Like I liked Pulp enough
Okay.
that I'd be like, hey, if you find it in a store, like, and it's $10 or whatever, like you should buy it. It was good.
Okay.
And I think I would keep Batman TMNT in the B's also.
Okay.
I think it's in a good spot. Near the bottom of the B's.
All right, I can live with that.
Oh.
I can live with that. Next one. Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where we land on this one. This
is Codename Sailor V Volume
first
1.
volume of Codename Sailor V, the like not quite prequel, the like beta version of Sailor Moon, which I really enjoyed, and I don't think you were quite as high on. Oh yeah.
How are you feeling about that?
No, it's better than Supergirl. So for reference, Pat just put it at the top of the D's, which I think is incorrect. Also, then all of Suzanne's books are D's, and we can't do that to her.
Again, at the top we said discussions were amazing, books questionable at times.
No, again, the ranking of the comic is not reflective of the value of the person who picked the comic. I really liked Codename Sailor V, but I liked it in the way that I like big dumb fun things. In the way that I don't think
I'm glancing at another Suzanne book that is still to be
read. Again.
And,
I was not wrong when I said if we put it in the D's, all of Suzanne's books will be in the D's. Codename Sailor V is super fun. Like I think there's a lot of cool stuff going on. Yeah, I would put it above the Doctor Strange. I would put it above Ghost Rider.
Ooh. Yeah, okay. Keep talking.
Put it above Wodakoi. Which one's more fun, Pat? She has a secret arcade base.
God dang it.
All right, here we go. I would put it above Hush.
I have no, Hush means nothing to me. And honestly, God, no, I think that's where it lands for me. I don't know if I can bring it past the Green Lantern.
Okay. I don't think I'd bring it up to the B's given our current rankings. Like, I think Batman TMNT is better than it. Batman TMNT is doing a lot of work to hold that door between me and C right now, honestly.
Hold the door!
It really is like, there is like a slightly noticeable tier where like it's really like negligible between that and the Atomic Robo Volume 3, but I look at it versus Green Lantern Volume 1 and I'm like, oh yeah, there's a big split there. So you don't want to move it above the Green Lantern Volume 1 in the C tier.
I don't know. I'm thinking about it. They go to Greece.
I think it's actually pretty close, honestly. Like
the art, while it's fun, is messy at times, and it's hard.
You can definitely tell it's the
person
to, doing some of their early work. That's for sure.
First manga, yeah. I think I'm okay with where it's at. Are you okay with where it's at?
I'm thinking about it still. Like, I'm actually honestly thinking about it versus that Atomic Robo volume now, and I'm like, well...
See, I would be okay with lowering Atomic Robo.
Dropping the Atomic Robo volume down. I'm trying to remember exactly which stories are in that Atomic Robo volume now. There's Dr. Dinosaur's in that Atomic Robo volume, though.
I mean, that is the top of that.
And I think the Edison one is in there too, right? The one where like Edison shows up and is a go.
Sounds right, yes.
There's the Power Rangers one, which is fun but average. There's the vampires one is good too. Yeah, Atomic Robo probably is better than it actually. I'm talking myself into just keeping it Codename Sailor V where it is. I could be persuaded to move it above the Green Lantern, but I don't think you want to do that.
Let's let it
sit for a
there
minute.
for a
Okay.
bit.
Like I'm looking at it and
we'll
it
come back.
feels wrong to me as like a which of these would I pick up and read again? I do think there's a lot of cool art stuff in the Green Lantern though. That's the thing about comics is you can't always just pull it as you have to pull it apart.
That is where the differences are, is that
I think I would
Sailor V was just messy,
but we'll do
Green Lantern was weird.
We might end up doing that in the final review. We might end up flipping it.
The final tally.
But for now, it is the third comic in the C tier, essentially, near the top of the C tier.
Yeah. Now this is an interesting one. The next one we got is They Called Us Enemy. It is a comic that is important.
Yep.
It tells a story that is important, much more so than any other comic in this tier list.
Yes. Yeah.
But if we're gonna rate it on entertainment value,
I don't know if you need to rate it on entertainment value. Like, I don't know if that's the exact right word. Rate it on, or like rate it on like, God, that's not the right word either. I almost said a word I don't want to do.
Enjoyment.
Not enjoyment. Substantialness. I almost said.
Well, then it would be
worthwhileness, right? But that's not it. That's not the word. Again, that's why I didn't want to say it in the first place. It definitely has a weight to it being a real story about a real thing that is very important to learn about. That like, I don't feel comfortable putting it below God Loves Man Kills, a story that is about about fictional blue furry people.
I mean, if we're going by the ranking and how we've set up the rankings, B is comics you should read. And we've agreed that everyone should read this, right? So it needs to be in B at least.
B. The question is whether it's go read this now. And I think I would argue that it probably is.
I mean, God, yeah. It feels weird having it below.
No, that's not correct. You won't nudge die from the top of this list, no matter how important your historical facts are. I am really glad that Bryce chose this comic for us to read. It was a really good read.
Yes.
And like it's not just like it's not dry. It's a good book. Like it's worth it's a good page turning book where you want to like keep reading the book to find out what happens and learn more about this period in American history that we don't.
It's one of those really moving historical, like important stories. But it's like Hotel Rwanda, where it's like, wow, that was an amazing movie and holy moly, that's affected me. I don't know if I can read it like or watch it again. Like I would have to like really work up to it kind of thing. So yeah, how do you feel about where I've got it now? I've got it between Barrier and Endless Nights in the A tier.
Barrier is an interesting comparison, huh? Like,
yeah, it also does
talking about similar-esque things with like immigration and such.
I would argue Barrier is probably more.
Barrier is a better story, but also not a true story. So I don't know.
Right.
I think
it's more easily digestible than They Called Us Enemy.
I'm not sure it's the objectively correct ranking, but I think I like where we have it now, which for reference is between Barrier and Sandman Endless Nights near the top of the A tier, or like in the middle of the A tier, I guess, at the moment.
Oh, this is a weird one to rank.
It's apples and oranges, baby. You're gonna have to cut out like 18 times of me saying that because I'm saying it so much. But like that's really why. Like this is why I don't do this. to get into it again. I'm like,
Cal's fault.
No, not that it's Cal's fault. It's not Cal's fault. We could have chosen not to do the thing if we don't. But like, this is why when we started the podcast, like we discussed like, do we want to rank this stuff because like it might be interesting and fun. And I didn't especially want to do it because these are the kinds of discussions you have to get into where like anything in the A tier you should read. Like it's good. Where we subjectively place it is whatever.
Yeah. that's entirely personal preference.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it's odd to put the fictional story that references
Yes.
immigration and cultural issues above the
I
story.
mean, yeah, like,
Yeah.
that should probably be it, but we'll leave
If it
it
was
there.
like a library ranking of books you must read, yes, They Call Us Enemy should probably be at the top of it. In our ranking, it's
tippy top.
fourth so far.
Yeah. Ooh, let's move on before we
get letters, yeah.
Next one, Hitman: A Rage in Arkham.
Yeah, this is one I want to rank higher than it deserves, even though I know that this volume is not that good. I think this volume is fine.
That's where
Oh,
I land,
okay.
I think.
That's honestly, I think higher on it than I would be.
So I've got it in C tier, second behind Atomic Robo and above Green Lantern.
Yeah.
The Green Lantern.
I think just as a volume of comic books, I would put this probably just above Hush.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is just 2 spots down for reference currently. Like it's knocking it from above the Green Lantern to above Hush with codename Sailor V.
I'm okay with that there.
And I think it's because it really hasn't quite found its footing yet in the first. I think it's the first 4 issues that are in this, plus that little like a couple short stories we read.
Mhm.
That said, he does puke on Batman in this one. So I'm thinking about it. He does get to shoot the Joker in the head, even though the Joker is actually a shape-shifting demon, so it doesn't take.
This is the one that has the Nazi gun alien people?
The demons, yeah. They're like demons from hell,
there we
from
go.
DC Comics hell, which is
Yeah.
not hell, but is hell. I don't know. Comics. It's looking at it next to Codename Sailor V is so fun. There's such different books. Like if you look at
this sandwiching of the Green Lantern, Sailor V, Hitman.
So they're all very different books, like tonally and art-wise. A little, not tonally. They're all very different books, art-wise and subject matter-wise. But tonally, they're almost the exact same book.
That's so funny.
It's really it's interesting. Sailor V versus the first 4 issues of Hitman, plus a couple tie-in whatever things from before the series started.
This feels right to me. I'm okay with this.
Yeah. I'm gonna say this is fine for now. I feel like we're gonna revisit that ranking of Green Lantern, Sailor V, and Hitman, like all 3 of those. I feel like we're just gonna toss them in the air and see where they land at the end. I will say that if we were ranking all of Hitman, it would be in the A tier, by the way. So like, it's worth discussing for if we ever get there when we rank stories again, or if we talk about more Hitman, which we may or may not. But like, just for I guess listener reference, like we're ranking this volume in the C tier. Hitman as a run from like 1 to 60, a complete unit of story, is like, I'd probably have difficulty ranking it against They Called Us Enemy, so it's probably good we don't have to do that.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah. All right.
It gets very good. All right.
Well, the next one's going to have me questioning some things. So,
all right, I'm just updating my spreadsheet here, and then I'll look at. Oh yes, here we go. the Brian K. Vaughan, Marcos Martin versus Brian K. Vaughan, Marcos Martin matchup.
Yeah, now that we've got They Call Us Enemy in there too, to just add a sting to it.
Oh.
The next one is The Private Eye.
Here's my initial proposal. So The Private Eye, we read it with Jono. It was really good. We had a great discussion, as we always do with Jono. I think about things that are in The Private Eye on a weekly basis because of the fact that all my writing is on the internet, and I kind of live on the internet as a result. I propose putting it just below They Called Us Enemy, so we don't have to deal with that. And also the Brian K. Vaughan and Marcos Martin books are split because they're so close in my mind, honestly. And I think I like Barrier better, but I know you might not feel the same.
So, the thing is, you know me. I'm a sucker for world building.
Yeah.
And Barrier, while it is clever, it's very light world building.
Yeah, it's supposed to be set in our world, basically, except for like some sci-fi stuff. Which is part of why Kat likes it so much, because Kat likes real world but a little bit wacky, like a little bit weird sci-fi, as opposed to here's fictional words sci-fi.
And like I would be game if they gave me like 2 pages worth of what this alien civilization was about.
Yeah, and I think that would have
And how their technology works.
I think, honestly. So yes, I get where you're coming from, and I think again in the conversation we've been having about Seconds, where we feel like Seconds has more to say than some other books. I think The Private Eye may have. Well, I mean, it's
No,
close.
I think Barrier still has a pretty strong
Yeah,
message.
I agree. I mean, I feel like The Private Eye is picking at the edges of lots of stuff, whereas Barrier's kind of one thing, if that makes sense. But like a lot of different
Yeah.
angles on that same thing. So you're sticking with my proposal at the moment.
I mean, I'm throwing it up there so I can
Look at
visually
it,
see it
okay.
and see how
How
I
you feel about it? Yeah. So
They call this anime just throws a wrench in everything.
thanks, Bryce.
Yeah, I mean, I have real like this barrier, no pun intended, that we've set up with they call this enemy is really hard to get past at this point.
I honestly could see putting The Private Eye anywhere from where it. I think I would put it above Endless Nights. Like I would rather read it than Endless Nights, hands down.
Yeah, I take qualms with hands down, but yeah.
Marcos Martin's so good. Marcos Martin's so fucking good. I could see reordering Barrier, They Call This Enemy, and Private Eye in almost any direction except for Barrier and They Call Us Enemy being right next to each other really makes you I don't know.
Yeah.
I could see like those 3 books again, the same as like we were just talking about with the Green Lantern, Sailor V, and Hitman. Like you could toss those 3 books in the air and they could land, and I'd be like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, let's just keep it where it is
think
then. Behind the Call Us
Probably
Enemy and
right to
above Endless
split
Nights.
them up with a book in the middle so far. So we'll see where we're.
Sure. Yeah. All right. Next one.
Speaking of Bryce,
Bryce throwing all the curveballs. The next one is Cherry Magic. 30 years of virginity can make you a wizard.
question mark exclamation
Volume
point
1.
bang. It's better than Wotakoi.
Ooh, I disagree.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
I would put it lower than Wotakoi.
I think the art is rougher in Wotakoi, and I think the pacing in Cherry Magic is better.
All right, art is rougher. Really? I'm gonna pull.
Yeah, it's just like a little bit like less finished to me.
Okay, Wotakoi.
I feel like the pacing in Cherry Magic is like such classic rom-com pacing in a good way, whereas Wotakoi is just kind of like frantic. Yeah, Cherry Magic is one that I believe I got from the library, which I love that the library has this book. This was the Fresno. Oh no, this couldn't have been the Fresno library. So it must have been the St. Paul Minneapolis library, which I don't think those are. I think those are distinct systems actually. So it's probably the St. Paul library.
Oh, the art is so similar. I don't know if you can call it by the art.
All right, I prefer the high concept of Cherry. So. Read the first page of Cherry Magic and tell me you don't just laugh immediately.
I mean, I think I like the fact that I can relate more to Wotakoi being a nerd and of, I guess they're both adult romances, which is nice.
Yeah.
All right. So if it's higher than Wotakoi, how high does it go? How high does Cherry Magic fly?
I don't think it goes above Hitman for me.
So it's above Hush. Is what
I
you're
mean,
saying.
I can be talked down. Wotakoi and Cherry Magic are, I think, comparable. I think you're not wrong there. Like it's close.
Yeah. I mean, as I've said before, Hush means absolutely
nothing
nothing to me.
Yeah.
We can do whatever you want.
Maybe just split up
the manga I'm okay romances. With that.
Look, like,
you want to put it above Hush? I then have problems with why is Hush better than Wotakoi?
Oh, Jim Lee art. That's easy.
Guess in Batman Rogue Gallery, I guess. Okay.
I'm fine with putting it just above Wotakoi, actually. Now I'm looking at this, I'm like, it would probably flip through Hush before I flip through Cherry Magic again. Like it's
yeah, the art is serviceable. It's just not. I'm okay. I can live with this.
I think I'm good with it.
Cherry Magic be above Wotakoi in tier C. Okay. All right.
This is interesting.
Moving
it's
on.
Not quite panning out the way I had it on my initial ranking spreadsheet, but it all does make sense to me. It's weird. I don't have any like big disagreements so far, but we are moving things around compared to my initial gut feelings, which are just initial gut feelings. It's good we're talking about it. All right, let's have the discussion where we get really mad at each other. Usagi Yojimbo grass cutter.
Yeah. Where do I want to put
Yeah,
this?
you start, and then I'll tell you why it goes at A.
Usagi Yojimbo. B tier, below God Loves Man Kills, but above Pulp.
Okay. All right.
Actually, I might even bump it up twice and put it above.
Okay, so that was my initial feeling. It was like, there's no way it's worse than the 2 books above it. I think it's also better than Squirrel Girl Beats Up the Marvel Universe.
I enjoyed Squirrel Girl much more than Usagi Yojimbo.
Is it just because it took 300 pages for the story to start, Pat? Is that why?
I'm going to tell you it didn't help. It didn't help Usagi that there was such a prologue.
Well, there's political intrigue. There's mystic swords. There's a demon guy.
It feels so dry. I don't know why, but it feels like the fact that I can't divorce it from the historical context gives it a dryness that I didn't.
Well, see, I feel like that enhances it, honestly.
Interesting. It felt more like homework to me. It felt like, you know how they zhuzh up like workbooks for students to try to make it more entertaining.
I understand what you're
still
saying.
Edutainment. That's how Usagi Yojimbo felt to me.
Ooh, that's rough. I feel like there's no reconciling that difference. So I'm trying to figure out where I would put it if I was just like governed by my own opinion, and that's it.
Sure, that's fair.
I think it
out.
would have a hard time going past They Called Us Enemy, I guess, at this point, given what we said about.
See, yeah, line in the sand.
But I think it's pretty like that's where it is to me. It's in that like. It's in that tier.
It's above Private Eye, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Why?
I mean, like, there's just a lot of I don't know. There's a lot of intrigue. There's a lot of fun characters. I like the politics.
There's intrigue, and you have just said things that could equally be applied to Private Eye.
True. I mean, I like Samurai. I don't know. Another one where I feel like maybe I should have. I guess for the listeners, kind of knew coming into this one that we were going to have a disagreement on this one specifically because Pat kind of shared his initial gut feeling rankings and I kind of shared mine, and we were pretty mixed on this one, which is kind of wild given that like I just want to move into the A's and you want to keep it in the B's. Like that's not a huge difference, but like to me it feels like a huge difference because I remember liking this book.
I mean, B is not me saying it's a bad book.
Yeah.
I'm saying you should read this.
Understand. Put it above Squirrel Girl, please, for the moment. Let's see how that feels.
All right.
See how it feels.
Okay. All right. Well, Squirrel Girl, get down there. There you go.
I think I could see leaving it below seconds, even though I don't really want to.
Interesting. Really? Gesh even? Like, why is it better than
honestly,
Gesh
so
in your
looking
eyes?
at it, Gesh is where I'm like, okay, now we're close. Like, once it gets to Gesh, I'm like, okay. And now, like, looking at it versus Hawkeye, I'm questioning whether Hawkeye should be in the A's also. So we got that.
I might even give you one more bump above seconds if that would make it any more palatable.
No, I mean I'm thinking about that honestly. Again, like I did initial gut feeling rankings and like that they're not all panning out. So like I'm trying to figure out if I actually like I do really like Seconds. Seconds is a good book.
Yeah. And man, is it tight compared to 30 pages of prologue?
Yeah, but it adds character, Pat. You know the backstory.
I know it's true.
I
it
just seems like your opinion about it seeming like homework. Like I definitely get that. I also kind of like that era of Japan. I guess like I like reading that sort of stuff. I wish that we could read Rurouni Kenshin for the podcast, but we can't because the creator's terrible apparently, and that's about as much as I know or want to know about that.
Because I like that anime.
Let's leave it where it is.
Okay. Revisit it.
I don't know if we'll revisit it.
The Great Reckoning.
I don't know. At this point, we're going to revisit every book if we revisit all the things we said we were going to revisit.
I mean, we're going to go down the list one last time before we seal the tome.
I think that's okay.
Okay.
I think it might be better
Moving
than
on for
just
now.
the first volume of Gesh, given that that's all we're ranking. But I don't know that it's better than Gesh as a story, so I might be okay with that. Okay, let's
See,
move
I think
on.
the fact that Gesh's fantasy world is divorced from our real history, and that gives it a bump up for me.
Yeah, whereas I think it gives it side. I don't know. That's sideways to me. Like I enjoyed the real world history stuff of Usagi Yojimbo.
That's
I don't
fair.
mind learning while I read my comic book. This is why you didn't like They Called Us Enemy.
Hey, I liked it
A
fine. I
book
said
that
it's
we ranked in the
important.
A tier. All right, let me move
Moving on.
Usagi Yojimbo from high on the A's in my initial rankings to down here on my spreadsheet. Quick.
Third on the B. Yes, that's right.
Before
How the mighty
we
have
move
fallen.
on. All right, next up we have X-Men Worst X-Men Ever.
Worst X-Men ever, which is a fun story.
Yeah, part of our crossover with the SJW Comics Book Club, which really like that book. Really like the crossover. Really like the discussion.
The comic itself.
Yep. Okay. Yep. Nope. That's right.
Okay, this is the one.
God Loves Man Kills is better, I think, by virtue of importance.
How do you feel about that? Last of B tier.
Okay with it. I'm thinking about it versus Atomic Robo.
Above Atomic Robo.
Yeah. I definitely want to put it above the Green Lantern Volume 1. So that's good.
Yeah.
It's pretty close.
The fact that it's a complete story does a lot for me.
The art is very good and clever also.
Yeah. Yes. The ribbing at the X-Men.
Yes.
Is great.
Dr. Dinosaur versus poking fun at the X-Men. I'm okay with it where it is at the end of the B tier, but I wonder if that's just because I know X-Men stuff. Like, what if this was a Justice League comic? Would you put it in this spot? Probably not, right?
Me? Yeah, no.
Yeah,
for sure.
So like,
yeah. But that is why it's our personal ranking.
Yeah, put it at the bottom of the B tier. I had it in a B tier in my gut feeling rankings, so
there you go.
Let's keep it for now.
Oh, it comes out.
I think it's again we're like edges of difference between the end of the B tier and the very top of the C tier at this point to me.
Yeah. It's the minutia at this point, yeah.
All right, let me go grab a book off the shelf before we do the next one here.
No, okay, so I'm pretty sure because the next is Saga, both volumes 6 and 10, and I'm pretty sure 6 is where Hazel gets separated from her parents, and she's in the care facility with her grandma. Yes. And Hazel and not Hazel. What are her parents' names?
Alana and Marco. Is Alana wrestling in this one?
Thank you. No, that was the previous.
Oh God, let me grab the book.
Where she was doing the television stuff.
I will be. I'm grabbing it. I gotta look at it.
Okay.
All right. I have it off the shelf. I'm gonna do a quick flip through. Yeah, Hazel's in class.
Yep. Reveals her wings to her teacher.
Oh yeah, this is like after Alana and Marco had split for a little bit, and now they're back together because they're gonna find Hazel.
They're trying to find the facility that she's being
kept.
The
reporter guys. It's got Fat the Will.
Yeah, is this the one where his sister dies, or the previous one? I don't know what the B story was doing at that point. I think
it's the previous
C story
one. He's still Hulu.
So this is the one that has the mole woman? Okay.
No, this is not the one that has the mole woman.
Okay.
Volume 10 I remember much more because we read it more recently, and also it's like the second to the last volume of Saga that came out. Hey, a new volume of Saga came out this week, by the way.
No way, really?
Wednesday,
dang.
As we're recording this. Pick that one up. It's good. I think it's
really interesting.
Actually, I think I liked it better than 10 because I think when we talked about 10, we were like, it's still kind of spinning a little bit.
It's treading water.
Yeah, this felt, a little bit more tready, but some stuff happens. Some shit goes down.
Things are happening.
Yeah, I liked it. Volume 11 Saga, it's good. Volume 6 and 10 of Saga, where do you want to put them?
This is weird because I really like Saga as whole is like powerhouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if we're doing just 6 and 10, where do we put this, man? What have we done?
I think for ease of ranking, let's just rank quote unquote Saga, I guess.
Okay. So I've just plopped it at the bottom,
Bottom
of
of
A,
A.
just to see how it felt.
Yeah, I don't know how it feels, honestly.
I mean, I would say for me, it's Saga is better than Gesh.
Okay, see where I'm looking is like I'm not gonna talk it past Usagi Yojimbo for sure. So that's like it's not.
No, don't you dare make Usagi Yojimbo a sticking point now.
No, like I'm just like
No.
I'm thinking about the person I'm recording with, and I'm not gonna be able to talk Saga down past that. That's fine. So it's either the other Brian K. Vaughan books are better, quote unquote, in that they are complete stories and they're a little bit more focused.
About Barrier and Private
Yeah.
Eye. Yeah.
So this is the thing we will talk about at some point. Maybe now is the time. We've got a lot of repeat
True.
authors on this for heavily having done 50 episodes, which I think is
That's
part of
true.
the predilections of our guest hosts and also our own, obviously. I'm the one who made Cat read Saga, I think, both times that we did it. So.
Look, I was a fan of Saga.
Well, Cat does like Saga, but I was like, hey, we should talk about Saga because it's coming
Saga.
back, and hey, we should talk about Saga because the new hiatus trade just dropped.
Yeah.
So it was my urging, but yes, Cat does like Saga. See, I think that might be the wrong direction, honestly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, just like so. Again, I'm kind of thinking of it as so. Volume 6 to me is very much the
Okay, I guess are we doing these specific volumes or are we doing Saga as a whole?
So here's what we're kind of doing Saga as a whole, in that I feel like these volumes represent the ups and downs of Saga a little bit. Like there's a decent amount of wheel spinning, it seems like to me, just flipping through volume 6 of like just positioning people instead of stuff actually happening. And volume 10 had a little bit more of a thrust to it because it was coming back from hiatus, but also still has a little bit of wheel spinning. So like that's the thing to me is like I think Saga's highs are really high, but its mediums are really medium. I don't think it really has lows so much except for Abortion Planet.
Yeah, but they sort of mellowed that out.
Yeah, that's true.
With the revisited.
Yeah, agreed.
See, I'm gonna say what I've said, I don't know, 3 times now. I am such a sucker for world building. You know what Saga does really good?
World building, yeah. I mean, that's part of why like volume 11 is good, and I think part of it is because you get a little bit more of like the action being like bigger stuff going on as opposed to also the character moments. Like you get both as opposed to I think in some of these volumes you only get one more so. I don't know.
The fact that it's an original story. An original story in a world that's so fleshed out that like I feel like people can write their own stories in the world of Saga. They've done such a good job of like
it definitely has the same feeling of say the Star Wars universe, which we talked about on the last episode, right? Where I'm like so interested in stories that are just plopped in the Star Wars universe more so than I am actual Star Wars. Like I can easily see
I would
the
compare
same
it
thing.
to Die in my comparisons.
Die's so much tighter though.
I mean, yeah, like just its length for sure.
Okay. Let's see.
And we've talked about it before, but yeah, as Saga continues to be a saga, it lowers in strength for me for sure.
I will be interested because like at some point the last volume of Saga will come out, I think, hopefully, knock on desk. And like we're gonna talk about that one on the podcast if we're still doing the podcast. Like that's happening. So I'd be interested to see how we feel at that point because I feel like we are very much in the middle of a thing that is started really strong, spun its wheels a little bit, still has really strong points. Like again, we bought volume 11 from a comic store in Chicago this weekend, and it's good. I read it this morning.
I'm sneakily moving.
Yeah, I know. I see you moving it up. I mean, I'm kind of talking myself into it as we go. Like, I think it is also a quote unquote important book. So there's that. Like, that has some bearing. Like,
it's definitely shaped the comic book industry.
Yeah, I mean, it's a book that like comic shops noticed when it stopped shipping, and they noticed when it started shipping again. Like, it brings in a lot of readers. So I don't know, Pat. I think it is more ambitious than Seconds and even Gesh. We can put it in the A tier, which is not where I had it in my initial rankings, by the way. I had it in the B tier.
Interesting. Ooh, came out all the way back in 2012. It has been over 10
Been a
years. Oh,
long
damn.
time. Which again is fine.
Oh.
Creators should take the time to make the thing they want to make. This is not what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
And if we're gonna put it up that far, I don't know. I might even rather read it than Endless Nights. Though maybe not these two
Ooh.
volumes.
I would argue that Sandman keeps its potency more than Saga seems to be. It's good to hear that volume 11 is shaping up more, but I have had my my doubts about where Saga's headed.
Yeah.
But I feel like Sandman's stronger.
Put Hawkeye back above it for now. Because I'm just like thinking about like again on the ranking, like we have 6 and 10, and like if you were like, I think I'd rather give.
Well, now we're going.
I know
back.
I'm back and forth. It's tough.
We gotta draw the line. Is this 6 and 10 or is this Saga the series?
I think
because if it's 6 and 10, yes, it would be lower for me. But if it's Saga the series, I feel like it beats Hawkeye.
Where is it for you if it's 6 and 10?
Okay.
I
would probably drop it down to a B.
Okay, see that because that's where I had it kind of based on the strength of it being these two volumes, but I am running this weird balancing act in my head of like we're not really gonna rank Saga again for a while, a few years, right? So like
sure. Well, let's leave it here.
Yeah.
And when we come to the final rankings,
I mean, for me right now, it is basically whether you're gonna flip it below or above My Love Story, because I think Hawkeye Volume 2 is better than Saga Volume 6 and 10.
I would agree, but I would say the Saga series is better than Hawkeye Volume 2.
Well, we'll see when it finishes in 10 years if that's true or not.
I mean, as it stands now, I would rate it higher than Hawkeye Little Hits.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, let's leave it at the top of B for now, noting that we are specifically ranking the 2 volumes we read, but also weirdly tightroping the fact that we're kind of ranking Saga.
I mean, honestly, if it's the 2 that we've read, I might even drop 10 lower. But let's
I don't want to separate them. Right let's not.
Let's not. Okay, next one. Archie versus the Predator.
Is good.
It's fun.
Is better than Saga?
No.
Okay. Okay, crazy, man.
Don't say things you can't take back. It's better than Usagi?
No, probably not.
It's better than Squirrel Girl.
It's weirdly comparable to Unbeatable Squirrel Girl beats up the Marvel Universe. In that it's like, hey, let's break the central conceit of the character for this story.
Right. I would drop it below, and that feels good to me. Yeah, so above 100 Nights.
I'm thinking about whether it's better than 100 Nights, and I think it might not be, honestly. I think it's better than Pulp. So it's not going too much further down. I think it's better than Batman TMNT also, which is again weirdly comparable, like mash up these two properties. So like it's not going further down than Pulp.
Is 100 Nights higher just because it's more poignant?
Yeah, I think so.
The entertainment, the pulpy nature of Archie
so like
versus
here
Predator?
have some fun of Archie versus Predator. Yes, I think so.
Popcorn. And in that case, does God Loves Man Kills?
We could split up the serious books with a fun book. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird to be like, I could read either of those. But it's kind of my take on it is like, it's definitely better than Pulp. We could flip-flop it with God Loves Man Kills, and I wouldn't be mad either way.
I think I'm going to edge out X-Men over Archie. I think that feels better.
Oh, but they make an Archie Predator at the end, right? Put it above God Loves Man Kills.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. That's fine. Next, Original Sin.
Oh boy.
Not a great one.
No, not a good one.
Is it better?
No.
Than Batman, Superman, Supergirl?
It is not. I think that Batman, Superman, Supergirl is less interesting. It hangs together better as a story.
That's fair. Is it better than Fables, Volume 1?
If yes, only just, I think.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it's a D. Like, I think it just doesn't quite hang together well enough to be a coherent story. It's trying to do crossover stuff. You can tell it's kind of like, not written by committee, but you can tell it's kind of hacked together.
Yeah. has to fit
doing
in.
the thing that is clever sometimes, but sometimes doesn't work, where it's like there is a big secret history of this character that you never knew about. And
Yeah.
it doesn't work this time with the Nick Fury stuff for me.
Yeah, and I would give Fables a lead just because the originality of it.
Yeah.
Of Volume 1.
I would put it above Blackbird for sure. Original Sin I'm talking
Yes.
about. In that it is
I'm
at
okay
least
where
a
we're at
complete
now.
story. I'm deciding whether I'm above or below Fables, honestly. I
Okay.
think I'm okay where it is for the reasons you said. Like
Yeah.
it's just another Marvel comic book kind of, and it's not a good one. It's weird that so much of
Yeah.
stuff in it still pops up in modern like today's continuity, given that one I think is also at least 10 years old. When did that come out? Hang on.
Yeah.
Original Sin Marvel. 2014. Yeah, so just about 10 years old.
Just about. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Fables over Original Sin with a slight edge for me, I guess, right now.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Next, I think this might be the
next sticking
second
point,
most debated. Superman and the Authority. Not my favorite.
I was gonna say, where are you dropping it?
Let me feel it out.
Yeah, you figure it out first. And like I completely understand your feelings on this one. Like I remember like we had a conversation about it when we talked about it, and like you were kind of off it because it's this weird thing. But like as an artifact in time, I just like really love this book. So,
Sure.
but I don't know that that means it's a good comic. Like it is. I think it is a good comic, but I think I'm swayed by the sausage making of it. Okay.
Does that feel right?
No, we're actually close. I might think you might have actually put it higher than I would put it.
See, it's because you have such high praise for Usagi Yojimbo and I don't. So that's where my ranking gets. Because I still think this might be the right call.
Move Squirrel Girl back for now. Little grass cutter. But I mean,
all right, so I'm plopping them in solid B tier, above seconds, but I'm sorry, above Usagi, but below seconds.
yeah, and to I guess for note, like right now our Grant Morrison power ranking is All Star Superman, Superman the Authority, the Green Lantern, which is correct. That's
Yes,
right. Honestly, Pat,
it does feel surprisingly high for me, but I don't know if I feel like I can lower it past. Oh, I don't know. This is a weird one. You talk for a bit.
Take Usagi out of the equation for you because it's not in the right spot for you. Like, cut that out.
Yeah.
Versus Unbeatable Squirrel Girl beats up the Marvel Universe. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
no,
I
I would
expected you to
put
do.
Squirrel
Yeah,
above
there
it.
you go. Because Usagi is a compromise ranking.
Yeah.
I think honestly, I would also.
I feel better about that one. Yeah.
I would maybe even put it below Archie versus Predator. Honestly,
Interesting.
now I'm thinking about it versus God Loves Man Kills. It's not going below Pulp. Pulp is the weird like the weird like this is a B tier comic, but it's not like the highest B tier comic.
Draw the line here.
Yeah.
So how's that feel?
X-Men God Loves Man Kills is good, but someone doesn't hit internet trolls with a hammer in it, so
I didn't like that.
I know you didn't.
It's a good thing for it.
I think that's okay, actually. So placing it for reference between X-Men God Loves Man Kills and Pulp in the bottom-ish of the B tier.
Yeah.
I think that's fine. Like, I think everyone involved would like state that that's a compromised comic. So like the fact that it ranks as high as it does is pretty good. Like the fact that you can't even get the same artist on art for 4 issues of a 4-issue miniseries is like, what is going on? DC, get your shit together. But the whole book is DC trying to get its shit together and failing, which is part of why I love it. So
true.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think the books above it are more coherent, if less exciting at times.
Fair.
All right, let me update.
All right, moving on.
Bad boy, and then let's move.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like dropping the like, I guess for the sausage making hour, and like dropping the books that are pretty solidly set in the solidly set section of my spreadsheet, and dropping the we need to circle back on these into their own kind of little bottom category. So
Gotcha.
I can make sure we get back to the right ones when we go through. But next on the list is Heartstopper Volume 1. Popular webcomic. Teens like it. Pat liked it. I liked it less.
I did like
Oh
it.
no, it's not going in the A tier. It's not as good as My Love
Oh
Story.
no, Matt, I think it
It's
is.
not as good
I
as
think
My
it
Love
is.
Story. It's a
I think it's going up there.
perfectly average comic book about a romantic relationship
Mm,
that if it was like 5% less cute, it's not.
mm,
All right, hang on.
uh-huh.
Let me figure out where I actually had it in my gut rankings. I had it in B.
Okay. So everyone knows I put it at the bottom of A
Yes.
tier, and Matt's having a
I'm not
conniption.
having a conniption. Calm down. I'll calm down too. I would read like any of the B tier comics before I read this again, honestly. Which I know is just breaking teens' hearts and maybe Bryce's too. I don't think it's comparable to My Love Story, honestly.
Really interesting.
In that, like, I think My Love Story is a tier above quality wise to me.
Is it because you enjoy the comedic
I
nature
think
of My
the
Love
over
Story more
the
so
over
than the heartfelt
yeah,
nature
the
of
over the
Heartstoppers?
topness. I mean, which is a thing that I enjoy more than you enjoy, so that makes sense a little bit.
I mean, I have it ranked higher, but I have it just ranked higher. So
Is it really better than Saga, Pat?
all right, okay. So I shot my shot. Where would you put Heartstopper?
I would probably put it between. No, I think I would put it between. No, it's not in the C's. I'm giving you B. B is happening for sure. At least I don't want to give you A. I'm debating whether it's better than. I guess a few books actually.
This is the man who said die is top, and I'm not hearing any arguments otherwise.
Yeah, that's how it works. I'm debating putting it anywhere between Superman and the Authority and X-Men Worst X-Men Ever.
Oh, in the bottom 4 of B.
Like anywhere in there, I would feel fine with. I think like you could maybe even talk me into a like right below X-Men God Loves Man Kills, but I don't think I put it above X-Men God Loves Man Kills. What a weird podcast! I know you would. You'd put it at the top of the A's or at the bottom of the A's. Sorry, didn't mean to miss it.
Definitely above Archie. Definitely above
100 Nights of Hero.
Like I might stop there. I might stop between Squirrel Girl and 100
That's
Nights.
where I thought you might start having a.
if I'm gonna have a more level-headed ranking,
you
of
put
it,
the two compromise books
I
right
could see
around
it there.
Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. We agree on.
Doreen Green is holding her ground. Okay,
these two books are on your side. Yeah, I'm fine with that. It's not better than Seconds to me. I don't think it's better than Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. I honestly, it's fine. I'm okay with this. So for reference again for listeners, it's between Unbeatable Squirrel Girl Beats Up the Marvel Universe and 100 Nights of Hero in the B's. The teens will thank you for getting it higher than it would have been if it was just me.
Hey, my fellow teens.
How are you doing, my fellow teens?
All right, well, an easy one's up next. Zodiac Star Force by the Power of Astra.
Oh, sorry, Susie. It's a D.
It is a D. It is better than Circle of Fire. It has more plot than Blackbird. And I think it's better than Original Sin.
So Fables.
I say Fables.
I'd probably rather read Zodiac Star Force, but it might be a coin.
Really? Interesting.
There's so much just.
There's hardly anything to Zodiac.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Fables is probably a more satisfying story. I remember just being really mad at Zodiac Star Force for not knowing how to end itself, and also not like. I'm not surprised you were so low on it because it's like the opposite of what you want, where the world building is just like not quite there.
It's so paper thin, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fine. We can put it below Fables for now. Okay. I did have it in the D's originally, and it is landed in the D's, so.
Well, speaking of the D's, the next book is Rogue and Gambit, Ring of Fire.
Oh, D's, you say?
So, Ring of Fire or Circle of Fire? Let's have this head-to-head.
I have Ring of Fire in the F's, honestly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just like,
Interesting.
because again, I don't know who should read this book. We talked about this when we were discussing the book in the first
I
place.
mean,
like,
Die Hard Rogue Gambit.
and that's it, right? And like, should they
shippers.
even read it? Do
Yeah.
they need to read it? Not really. It's, you know, like, it's literally just a nostalgia wank story. It's all the stuff you've seen before, and then they get back together at the end. Like, you don't need to
Yeah.
read it.
Yeah.
I think I'd put it in the Fs. There's so much dialogue on every page.
It's true.
Now we've got to decide whether it's better or worse than The Big Lie.
I mean, the fact that it's X-Men makes me want to put it above The Big Lie.
I think that's fine.
Just because I have no connection to Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew.
Yeah. There's an argument to be made that The Big Lie is trying something more interesting, but it does it so ham-fistedly that I'm not even sure that's a good argument.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that.
I like the art, I think, in Rogue and Gambit. And the story was okay.
I mean, doesn't it start with Kitty Pryde telling him to go on a vacation?
Yeah, it's
like
a secret
that.
mission vacation.
Yeah. I liked Headmistress Kitty Pryde.
See, this is where Green Lantern Circle of Fire being in the D's falls apart for me, honestly.
Where you want a top of F?
Yeah, actually, I think so. Because, like,
Okay,
I think
I'm good with
Rogue and
that.
Gambit and Green Lantern Circle of Fire are similarly non-recommendable. Where there's just not much to get out of them
Yeah, I mean,
other than a great podcast
Yeah.
discussion. No shade.
that's right. I'm okay with that. So we've moved Green Lantern Circle of Fire to F and then put Rogue and Gambit below.
Yeah, all the fires are in F. two fires and
That's right.
fires and a lie. All right, that's good.
Down.
I can
Okay.
move
Um,
Green Lantern Circle of Fire out of my we must discuss it later pile now. So that's good. Cool. All right, back on our repeat writer bullshit. Kieran Gillen is back for round.
Oh, that is Kieran.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Gosh dang it. What is wrong with us? All right, Once and Future, Volume 1. Is fun. Feels like a Dan Brown novel.
Yeah, I maintain is probably my least favorite Kieran Gillen book that I've read, but that still means it's very good.
I'm plunking it at the bottom of B tier to see how that feels.
Okay. I had it in C's initially in mine, but I think it's probably close. Like, I think it is probably better than that. Oh, nice. I think it is probably better than that Ghost Rider and Doctor Strange stuff in C. Like, I think it's maybe a tier above that, so
Yeah.
maybe bottom of B is right.
I think I'm okay with it being.
Yeah. So I'm looking at it versus Atomic Robo. I think
Yeah.
that's actually close-ish. I think the art is better in Once and Future by a good amount, so that might be what breaks it for me there. I'm looking at it.
Colors were very nice.
Yeah, I'm looking at it versus the Green Lantern, and I definitely would rather read it than the Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Yeah, bottom of B is okay to me right now. That might be one that we knock down potentially, but I could see it staying.
And yeah, the worst X-Men, I feel like, just by virtue of it being about the X-Men, beats it.
Yeah, I think
for
like
me.
has Once and Future is good, but is also like very much a Hollywood movie.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Batman: A Death in the Family. No, I'm not. I want you to rate this first.
Oh, okay.
Where are you putting this?
It's below Hush for sure.
Okay.
Well, that's where I'm. That's just where I'm
bumping it right
starting.
below Hush. No, I'm just starting.
Yeah. I'd probably put the rom-com mangas above it.
Okay, both Cherry Magic and Water.
Now we're getting to the sticking points for me.
Ghost Rider and
Doctor Strange,
are
yeah.
weird. Yeah.
And like I think it's better than Supergirl, because like the Joker becomes the ambassador to the UN from Iran in Death in the Family.
So weird.
So like
Yeah.
that's
Mhm.
for sure. It's not going below Supergirl for me. We can talk about where you land also when we get there, but I think it's just a little tighter than those Jason Aaron books, so I think I'd put it where it is now.
How do you feel about this?
So you've moved it between Ghost Rider and Doctor Strange. It's definitely
I've split
you've definitely cemented in my mind
Jason
that
Aaron.
it goes above Doctor Strange. But
Yeah,
I don't
which I'm
feel
fine
right
with.
about that. It going below Doctor Strange. The Ghost Rider thing to me, I would move it.
The wackiness.
I'd move it back up because Death in the Family is a quote unquote important comic book, I guess.
That has no bearing with
I understand. But like if we're ranking it in order of like you should read this to you shouldn't read this, like I would give you Death in the Family before I gave you that Ghost Rider run. And part of the reason I would give it to you is like I wrote what is quote unquote my manifesto according to my wife about how it's like such an important moment in Batman comics that it like maybe even possibly breaks them forever in a weird way.
I mean, I don't have Ghost Rider is not that important to me that I couldn't just move it down.
Yeah. Now I'm trying to decide whether I'm breaking up the mangas or not. Because I think Hush is
Personally, Wodokoi was much more fun and enjoyable for me to read
than Death in the Family.
A Death in the Family.
Okay. Let's leave it then.
I think partly because I don't have the baggage for Batman that you do.
Oh yeah.
Also, the age of the comic didn't do it.
No
favors for me.
I think that also like makes it quote unquote funnier to read in a way. Also, if that makes sense. But
sure.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Let's leave it where it is for now. between Wodokoi and Ghost Rider.
All right. Yeah.
Cool. Let me update this thing here. And see, like, this is where, to me, well, I don't know how noticeable the dip in quality is, I guess, between Supergirl and that. Like, Supergirl is still hovering on the edge of C to D for me. We'll see about that when we get there.
Yeah. Speaking of Supergirl.
Oh, a Supergirl book that is not hovering on the edge of C to D for me.
Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow.
Which was a good book.
I say deserves to be an A.
Yes, I also had an A.
Okay. I would edge it above both My Love Story and Hawkeye, but not above Endless Nights.
I think I agree with the edging aboves for sure.
Okay.
I'm trying to decide if I
have drawn a line in the sand. No pun intended for Sandman.
Like I think I wouldn't put it above Private Eye. It's really for me just whether it would go above or below Sandman. You're saying you wouldn't?
I can go this far, no further.
Okay, fine. Done.
Okay.
Deal.
Awesome. It's just a really beautiful book and a concise story.
I feel like you've given me a lot on Compromises also though, so willing to give you this one. Let your beloved Batman stand.
Well, where would you put it?
Like if you had your druthers, I think I would literally just move it one more spot up. I think that's it.
Oh, one more up above past Sandman?
Yeah. And that I think it's a good one-off story. Like we talked about how you could basically just... I wonder if you did hand this to a new reader test between this and All-Star Superman, which would actually be better, to be honest with you.
I would think Supergirl.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think I like All-Star Superman more still, but...
Yeah, I agree. I think the structuring, the conceit of All-Star Superman, I enjoy more than the conceit of Supergirl.
It's just an interesting
Woman of Tomorrow
question to think about, though, where it's like, here, read this one, not this one.
Yeah. You know what? I will allow this. It can beat Endless Nights.
Ooh, all right. I'm in.
One.
I'll take it. I wasn't even going to fight for it.
Well, I mean, this Neil Gaiman weird is not for everyone, and I will concede that.
Yeah, I think we did have discussion about whether we could even rank part of that Neil Gaiman, the despair stuff, as being a comic book or
not. All right, next
wave.
Next wave, Agents of Hate.
A book that, again, I read it when I was younger, and I was higher on it than I am now that I'm older for a variety of reasons.
Where the heck do you stick?
It's above Hush. A start there.
I'm putting it right above Hush in the C tier, so below Hitman.
I think that might be it, honestly. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. Oh, Hush.
Moving on.
This is what I said about Hush being just like the C comic to me. It's like, is it better or worse than Hush? And then from there, you could start doing the fine tuning.
Oh, man. All right. Next, Monstrous, Volume 1.
You rank it first.
It world builds. So good.
You rank it first, and then I will decide whether I agree with that. And we can have... I don't even know if we'll fight about it, honestly. Okay.
I'm putting it technically second from the top of B tier behind Saga and above Gesh.
So how would you feel about moving it 2 spots down behind Seconds?
Behind Seconds. I would agree that it's Seconds is, by nature of it being a complete story, is a complete story, and I appreciate that more than Monstrous being just first volume trying to set up a whole lot of stuff.
So busy, Pat. It's so busy. I honestly think that
but it's so beautiful.
the simple world building of Gesh, which I know you're not as into, is so much more my speed than the like, here is all of it of Monstrous, in the same way that like we talked about how Cat bounces off of like very involved sci-fi versus like it's just moderately different sci-fi. That's kind of how I feel about these two fantasy series. So you've moved it.
What if I gave you that? What if I give you Gesh over Monstrous, but still above Seconds?
I don't love it, but maybe willing to compromise, honestly.
I'm looking at it too. Let me feel
I'm
it
definitely not going to try to talk it below Usagi for you.
It is not below Usagi.
I think it is better than Squirrel Girl. So, like, below Seconds is the furthest I would go.
Okay, Seconds.
I really appreciate like the simplicity and compactness of Seconds versus the data pages of Monstrous.
Fine.
If we get to the end of the podcast and you want to revisit that one though, I think you could do that. I don't think you.
It is such a gorgeous comic though. It's crazy. Yes. It's crazy.
Yeah, and
the amount of detail they throw into that thing.
I think I told you I've read I think at least the second volume of it since we read it. Did I read volume 3 yet?
Yeah.
Hang on. Because the library just has them basically every time I'm in there. So
I have no excuse. I own like the first 6. I really should read the rest of them.
I don't believe I've read volume 3 yet, but I liked volume 2 to the point where I will pick up volume 3. And again, we talked about maybe doing the beginning and the end of this one.
Yeah. So B tier, below Seconds, above
Jimbo. Yeah. I'm okay with that.
Okay. All right. Seconded. Next, The Death of Doctor Strange. I'm gonna let you rank it first, and then we'll see where we go.
It's so my starting point is it's better than the Jason Aaron one to me. No, not it didn't start with better than worse than Hush. So this one I'm like, is it better or worse than the existing Doctor Strange book we have? I think it's better. It might not be better than Ghost Rider. I think that might actually. I hate putting them together because that kind of is stupid to me. But like, Death in the Family is, if not better, at least more important.
You know, I think I'm okay with this. Just edging out.
Yeah, I think that's right.
The first Doctor
Isn't
Strange.
that stupid that that's where it ends up? But I think it is just like just slightly better than that first Jason Aaron Doctor.
It is so upsetting how close the story is.
Yeah, that might be part of it, right? Like we talked about that, and I think you found it
very similar
than I did. But it's got those classic murder mystery elements to it, which I really like. I'm just trying to decide whether it's...
There's a ghost basset hound in it, so I can give it.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide whether it's above that Ghost Rider run or not right now, and I think it's fine where it is. So right between Jason Aaron Ghost Rider. It's funny, we split up the Jason Aaron stories, but we do it by grouping 2 Doctor Strange stories together.
I still think the wild, wacky seeing all the different Ghost Riders of that Ghost Rider is
I think I agree.
Yeah. All right. Next, Ping Pong, the series.
It's an A for me.
Okay, well, let's flop it over there.
Right. How far are we willing to go?
Right away, my soul says, but Saga.
Oh, it's better than Saga. You can quote me on that. You can put it in as many like weird out of context sound bites as you want. It's better than Saga. It's tighter. It's got like as good as Fiona Staples' art is, which is very, very good. Like there's so much interesting stuff going on in Ping Pong, and like we talked about that also when we discussed it.
But Matt, I have 2 words for you.
Which one? What do you got?
World building.
Oh,
world
building.
The
emotional stakes are so high in Ping Pong, whereas they're so stretched out in so like this is the conversation we're having, I guess, is it better or worse than Saga? You've got to take into account that we may or may not be ranking only volume 6 and volume 10 of Saga.
Who knows at this point?
Not me.
No, okay, I'll give it. No, it's fine. It's fine. Yes.
All right, now we start.
It can be better
Now
than
we start
Saga.
inching it up.
Now
back
we
a
start working our way
tier.
up. Yeah. Personally, I liked My Love Story more than Ping Pong.
Oh, I would put it between Private Eye and Supergirl, I think, honestly. And I think it only gets stopped by They Called Us Enemy being quote unquote important.
So yeah, I would allow you to be above Hawkeye, other than the fact that Hawkeye is above My Love Story.
Well, okay, we can reevaluate all of it, maybe. Let's start picking the whole list apart now that we're mostly done.
So you would put it here, is what you're
Yeah, I
saying,
would
between
put it as
Private Eye
what?
and Supergirl.
Considering Die as one book, we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number 6 on the rankings would be Ping Pong. Versus you would put it as number like 10?
Do not agree. I could put it right below Endless Nights.
Yeah, we'll revisit that one, but I'm okay with that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that one we're gonna have to think about.
All right. Next, second to last, the penultimate, Dogman, For Whom the Ball Rolls. Very sweet, very fun. I say deserves B tier.
Okay, that's where I landed also.
I'm gonna put it at the bottom of B tier and feel it out from there.
I think it's better than Once and Future.
Better than Once and Future.
I think it's better than X-Men.
Better than Worst X-Men. Better than Pulp.
Yep. Better than Superman and the
I
Authority.
would say better than Authority. Better than God Loves.
Wait,
better than
hang on,
Archie.
stop it. God Loves Man Kills for a second.
Okay.
I want to
Okay.
see how I feel.
Well, let me feel out mine.
Yeah,
okay?
go. You do yours first.
I think there is where it lands
All
for
right,
me.
which is
between 100 Nights and Heartstopper.
Okay. It's funny because I'm like tight between it and God Loves Man Kills, but I think it is better than Archie versus Predator, so that ranking's screwed up maybe.
See? Yeah.
I think I like 100 Nights of Hero better.
Then
Yes.
Okay. So you would drop it.
Yeah, I think I'd put it right there. Because I think that.
Do we want to visit Archie and X-Men?
No, because it's fine. We don't have to deal with it. It's inconsequential to this ranking. Because Dogman is currently below 100 Nights of Hero and above Archie versus Predator.
Oh god.
A little laughable exercise. Yeah, which I mean, this totally makes sense to me because 100 Nights of Hero has a lot of like social issue stuff packed into it. Dogman kind of does too, and then Archie versus Predator is just fun.
All right. Should we rate our last?
Above God Loves Man Kills.
Oh, we did.
That's fine.
Don't think about it. It's fine.
It's fine.
So last, certainly not least, Darth Vader Volume 1. Another Kieran Gillen, our favorite.
One of our faves. I'm like when I wonder if we should do more stats. I might do stats when we put the show notes up. I also might not have time. We'll see. But like stats of like percentage of writer per book read or percentage of artist per book read. I like it better
than Once and Future for sure. I would say better than Pulp. I would say better than Authority. And God Loves.
God Loves Man Kills.
How high do I want to go? Really interesting.
I mean, keep moving it for now. See how high you want to go.
Okay. Thinking back, Darth Vader. What happens?
The one we literally just read.
000. Yeah. How do you feel about that? Okay
about it. It might even be a little too high. So for reference, right now it's between Usagi Yojimbo Grasscutter and Unbeatable Squirrel Girl beats up the Marvel Universe.
Yeah. One down. Give Squirrel Girl the edge.
Yeah, I'm deciding whether I'd let you have Heartstopper. I do really like that Darth Vader book, though.
It's fun. It's the best Vader I've seen.
In that initial volume, there's those first 2 issues that are more like classic-y Star Wars Darth Vader. Then Afra shows up, and it's a Kieran Gillen book.
It's honestly, it's Afra BT1 000.
Yeah.
The comic book for me.
And he talks to the Emperor, and that's better than Heartstopper. Yeah, right. I'm just thinking about like the pathos of Vader, like Vader and the Emperor versus the pathos of
Palpy.
Charlie and Nick. Yes, are their names in Heartstopper?
Yes.
I prefer one to the other. Should it be above 100 Nights of Hero though? I don't know. I don't know about that. What an odd list.
I say yes.
Mhm.
I feel okay with this.
I'm debating moving it between 100 Nights of Hero and Dog Man.
Oh, you're dropping it too.
Yeah. Just so weird because like
Charlie and Nick.
because Heartstopper's in
thank
that
you.
weird like the same with your Usagi Yojimbo considerations. I have to like not consider Heartstopper being there for the for that part of the list to make sense to me. So it's like it's probably in the right spot there, honestly, even though I would put it above Heartstopper. But like if we consider Heartstopper to be in the spot where I would put it, Darth Vader's in the right spot, I think.
Yeah.
Although it's tight, I do
Okay.
like 100, or I do like that Darth Vader series. If it was the whole series versus 100 Nights of Hero, we might.
Yeah, for me it beats 100 Nights and Usagi, but doesn't beat Squirrel Girl and Heartstopper. So
Yeah, I think I would put it above Squirrel Girl, possibly above, or possibly below seconds, somewhere below seconds, and above Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. I think is where I would put it if it was the whole series, but I think it's fine where it is right now. I will reconsider it as
Okay.
we reconsider the entire list.
Well, that time is now. So let's just go over the list as is. Or do you want to just call out the qualms as they come by?
Yeah, I guess like for reference, right now we're on Die is number one, the best book we've read. Which I'm not even
That's what
entirely
it says.
even entirely convinced is true, but I'm gonna go with it. And we
Okay.
have Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys, The Big Lie, as the worst book we've read. Though honestly, that F like you could flip flop the bottom two in that F tier, and I wouldn't care. Like
I'd be, yeah. I mean,
I think the
that's
Big
fine.
Lie is slightly more interesting. I don't know.
Who
We'll get
knows?
there. All right, let's walk it down.
Yeah.
Die in the correct spot, I think.
Sure.
All Star Superman versus Barrier.
Well, let's look at the A tier as
Yeah,
a
yeah,
whole.
yeah.
So, is there anything here that leaps out as
Not being
not
A
in the
tier.
right order? Like I think all these are A tiers.
Yes. I'm looking at.
I think my only
Hawkeye's the one to me.
my only major qualm is Hawkeye seems high in the second to last in the A tier. I might even drop it down to B. How are you feeling?
I think I would keep it where it is for the reason we discussed of just like the art is doing a lot of interesting stuff in that volume. Like David Aja is doing a lot of really cool page design work and like graphic
Okay.
design, honestly. Like not even like comic book design, like straight up graphic design. I think for me that puts it above My Love Story. And if it's above My Love Story, it's in the A tier. So there's that. I think Saga does suffer from us reading the volumes we read.
Yeah.
So there's that. It's
Yeah.
an unrepresentative ranking of Saga as a whole, but is a possibly kind ranking of the volumes of Saga we did read.
I would drop volume 10 lower if we were to do such a thing.
And see, I think I
don't
would
we're
actually
going to do.
flip flop that if I would push 6 lower, but I'd have to reread.
Oh,
to be
really?
sure.
Interesting.
I think let's keep Saga
Well,
where
we're
it
not doing
is.
that, so it's
Yeah.
fine.
I think let's
Yeah.
read our weird tightrope of ranking Saga both as a whole and as the volumes we actually read. And come out with a middle ground that's not really representative of either.
Do we jump past our problem area of
That's just fine.
Usagi
Seconds is
Yojimbo
fine.
and Heartstopper?
Monstrous is Monstrous is fine. Monstrous is fine if we keep Usagi Yojimbo where it is. How about that?
I'll take it into consideration.
Squirrel Girl in the exact right spot somehow, splitting up the like weird compromise volumes that I think we had with both Heartstopper and 100 Nights of Hero on the other side also.
Fair enough.
I actually have a weird thought about whether Darth Vader should be above 100 Nights of Hero or not, but I'm gonna let us be the like clever hoity-toity like highbrow people who rank that book above the Darth Vader book. We're gonna stick with that for now.
Okay.
If you asked me on a different day, or like having read them both recently, like back to back, like yeah, good coin flip on that. I like Dogman where it is. I like Archie versus Predator above X-Men God Loves Man Kills. That feels like an important statement to make on the list. Superman and the Authority at Pulp. Superman and the Authority could honestly move down a spot, maybe, looking at it.
I was gonna say Pulp seems maybe a little bit high.
Okay, let's take both of those in a second here, maybe then.
Okay.
Those two notwithstanding, I like Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles kind of where it is, followed by X-Men, followed by Once and Future.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's figure out Superman the Authority and Pulp quick. You think Pulp is high?
From what I remember, it was a pretty generic story,
It's
right?
pretty straightforward, yes. Let me go pull that one off the shelf here quick. Hang on. Mostly an old dude beating up Nazis, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I like some of the art stuff in it though. Like it's got the Western flashbacks that are colored a little bit differently. It's kind of interesting stuff. I don't know. I think it's probably. I think Pulp is in the right spot.
So I would drop it down here
There.
above Once and Future.
I think it's definitely above Once and Future.
Yes. Agreed.
I think I would rather read it than X-Men, worst X-Man ever.
Interesting.
Batman TMNT. I'm a Batman sucker. But I think I'd still put it above that too. I think it was in the right spot. You want to split the difference between Batman and X-Men? You could talk me into that.
That's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
Right.
You can just stay. But what do you
Superman and the Authority.
to the Authority,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Feels like it could be lower to me, honestly.
Just dropped once.
I mean, how are you feeling about it? You were less high on that book than I was.
I mean, I would still say it's above Pulp, but like I said, I think I might drop both of them. Personally, I might have dropped both of them below worst X-Men,
Okay.
just because X-Men, and then we'd have the X-Men next to each other, which makes me
That would be very you.
tickled.
Yes. Let's leave them both where they are then, I think, as a weird compromise ranking. Okay.
Sounds good.
Now we decide whether we're putting that Atomic Robo up to the bottom of the Bs. I think Once and Future is noticeably better, as we discussed, though, because of the art.
Yes.
I think that's fine to split that. Right
I think it's comfortable to keep it.
yeah, top of C's feels okay. We've got this nice little grab bag of tonally similar but story-wise completely different wild and wacky stories with the Green Lantern, Sailor V, and Hitman.
Even Next Wave,
God, and kind of Next Wave even. That's an interesting area of the list. I'm fine with those. My inclination is to do that. Yeah, to flip Sailor V above the Green Lantern.
I think I'm agreeing with that now.
Okay.
I think that feels right.
Or we switch to Sailor V, then Green Lantern, then Hitman, then Next Wave, which is correct. Hush, I think actually squarely in the middle of the list. Pretty close. We'll have to actually see once we.
I think we're top heavy, but yeah, it feels.
Yeah,
right.
well, we're definitely top heavy because turns out we mostly enjoy reading
like
good
comics.
Cherry Magic and Wodakoi with Cherry Magic on top of Wodakoi.
I still don't quite agree with that, but I don't care. So
You want to flip it?
that's fine. No. Yes.
Flip it. That's fine.
How you feel about
Yeah,
that?
I'm good
You
with that.
okay?
I feel like I've won enough
Alright.
of the fights that you should get to win that fight. Death in the Family after those is correct because after it is just like
It's funny.
mostly forgettable but also good stuff with Ghost Rider and Doctor Strange. I don't know about Batman, Superman, Supergirl being the bottom of the C's. It could very easily flip to the top of the D's to me, which is not like it's such a negligible difference to like.
Is there anything that you miss out by not reading? Isn't there an animated film of that comic book?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's good. There's an animated film of lots of comic books.
Well, I'm just like, there had to have been a reason why it was chosen to be animated, right? Like, is there something for a DC fan? I mean, it's got the trinity of DC, right? Wonder Woman shows up.
Yeah,
in it,
I mean, it's
doesn't
part
she?
of why. So this was a Mike Drew pick, and I think part of the reason Mike picked it is like it's a blockbuster DC book. Like it's got all your faves, and they're fighting the big scary evil guy who is very obviously evil in this book, as opposed to other books where he's a little bit more subtle.
Okay. Does Granny Goodness appear in that comic
Yes.
book? Okay, well that's got to stay.
All right, top of the C's then. I'm okay with that. I'm fine with it being in the same tier as Hush because they're very similar books to me where it's like Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. Like you can read them. So that brings us to the top of the D tier, which I think this is actually ordered correctly. I don't think I have any qualms with this. It's Fables Volume 1, Zodiac Star Force Volume 1, Original Sin, and Blackbird. With
Fables wins because of world building.
yep, and being just like a little bit tighter of a story. Like it is a very like it's a moderately
More
successful
compelling,
murder
yeah.
mystery too. Like
Yeah.
Zodiac
And
Star Force doesn't
Zodiac
quite
is
hang
a better
together.
story than Original
Yeah,
Sin.
both don't quite hang together, but Zodiac Star Force is at least trying some stuff, whereas Original Sin, like, just read a different Marvel event. Like read something else.
Yeah.
And Blackbird, like,
And poor Blackbird
it'd
just
be nice if
uh,
it was good, but unfortunately it's
substance,
not.
any substance. It's so hurtful because even that comic book cover is so nice
It's
to
so
look at. It's
good.
just the colors.
And like both creators have gone on to do other stuff that I like also, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that
And then
brings us
finally,
to the F tier, where we have a
so I flipped these around already.
forgettable to bad Green Lantern Circle of Fire. Again, everything good it's doing, which there is some good stuff, like other stories do better.
Better. Yeah.
Rogue and Gambit, I think, is a worse example of that same thing, in that, like, at least Green Lantern Circle of Fire is like a new story pushing the characters in it forward for the most part. Rogue and Gambit is just like, hey, you liked these comics, right? Here's flashbacks to those, and also they're together again. Wow. I don't know. I liked it more than you guys liked it, and I'm still on an F for it. So
It's basically what if Rogue and Gambit switched powers the book.
yeah, again, it's not like, I don't know. It feels semi mean to rank stuff as Fs, but like there's a reason I would recommend you read stuff in the Ds potentially. I really have nothing for you to read Rogue and Gambit unless you're just like such a hardcore Rogue and Gambit fan.
The only switch that I would say is, do we put the Hardy Boys above Rogue and Gambit?
I think maybe. I think it might be, if again doing it like very obviously,
Because
I like
they
that
tried to
stuff.
tell a story,
Yeah.
basically.
How much do I
Yeah.
care about the fact that that story doesn't really end at all? I mean, Rogue and Gambit kind of doesn't really end at all either. So there's that.
No, it really doesn't.
I think I'm fine with putting Rogue and Gambit. Yeah. If I was, so I'm thinking about the going out the door test, right? Like, which of them would I grab if it was those two books? Which, God, what a world. I think I would grab The Big Lie, because I like it being a noir mystery thing more than I like semi-replaceable superhero mash 'em up nostalgia thing. So I think I'd do that. If you're gonna, like, if you look at this Nancy Drew the Hardy Boys book and you're like, I'm read that, like, go read Friday by Ed Brubaker and noted A-tier artist Marcos Martin. Just go read that instead. It's the same thing but way better. It's like a Nancy Drew but like young adult noir adult thing that is actually knows what it's doing. So that's that.
Nice. Well, I think we've done it, Matt.
Yeah, that wasn't so hard actually. It only took 3 hours.
Just over 3 hours. No worries.
You'll edit it. It'll be fine. So how are you feeling about the list?
We've done the impossible. I mean, honestly, I feel pretty good. Pretty good about the list.
Yeah. Like, if I don't agree with where everything ended up, like, I at least understand why it ended up where it did. Don't start moving us out YouTube. I gave you monstrous, damn it.
You gave.
Yes, quote
So
unquote
magnanimous.
gave. Yeah, this was interesting. I still have my same sort of feelings about ranking them against each other. Was really weird in a lot of cases.
Yep.
So I think what perfectly sums up that is the section of the bees that is Kieran Gillen's Darth Vader with Salvador Larroca, Dave Pilkey's Dogman, and Alex DeCampi, and oh gosh, I'm forgetting which artist that was on Archie versus Predator. One of the classic Archie artists. Oh, Fernando Ruiz. I think it might not have actually been a classic Archie artist, just a person who can do the style very well. But like that section, like those three books back to back on the ranking, I think gives you a very good taste of the diverse sorts of books we've read as part of this, which is nice. Even though we've got like, what, 12% of the list at least is the same 3 writers, probably.
Yeah, hadn't noticed that before.
I have. I've been trying to get us away from that a little bit, but it just keeps happening. turns out that Brian K. Vaughan and that Kieran Gillen, good writers.
We like what we like.
Also,
Yeah.
Grant Morrison pops up here or there from time to time.
Well, they're just too good at their job. Well, we did it. Cal will be proud.
Yeah.
Something to listen to.
Yeah, you better enjoy all
Years.
3 hours of this, Cal. All right, I think that will do it for this beast of an episode, though. As always, if you want to get in touch with Pat or myself, yell at us about our rankings, yell at us about which one of us was right about specific books. You can email us at waitingonthetrade@gmail.com. You can leave a rating or review on the podcast and your podcast app.
Crazy.
It's been a while since we asked for one of those. I think at the end of the 3-hour podcast is probably the best place to ask.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone's stuck
We
around.
made it through this. You should
Calls
rank
to
and
action.
review us because you love us that much. You can also find more comics-related goodness at mattreadscomics.com. Matt, I have really enjoyed getting to do this podcast with you for the last, oh my God, is it 4 years at this point? I think it is February 2019. Yeah,
Wow.
coming up on 5 years, actually, kind of, right? Plus 4, I guess, so 4 years. We'll call it 4.
Goodness
Yeah,
gracious.
it's a lot. It's been fun. I really
It has been
enjoyed
fun.
even when we're reading books that make us feel like we're dead cats in a despair box or doing therapy via role playing.
Right. Comics, man.
I am glad that you have joined me on this journey through the comical books, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been great. I look forward to doing 5 more
I was gonna
years.
say, are we gonna do another ranking episode? Are we locking it in?
At the 100th episode, which is actually the 103rd episode if you count.
The 100th episode was actually like the 120th episode, probably. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you also to the listeners for A, making it through this episode, if you made it through this episode, and B, listening
Yeah.
to probably most of the other episodes, I would assume. I think at the very least, the ranking list will give you some good context for what we talked about when we talked about the stories. So if any of those sounded interesting to you, either as books to read or just books to listen about, because I do that sometimes. I listen to people talking about books I have no intention of reading just to like understand how they work. Hopefully this gave you
Give it
some
a taste,
context.
yeah.
Yeah.
And our co-hosts, they say some pretty good things every once in a while.
Probably would
so-
not have a
Listen to
podcast
them.
still at this point without the co-hosts. And like, I appreciate the widespread of books we get to read, like from good to bad or like weird to straightforward. Like, it's nice to be able to dip in and read stuff that you or I might not pick potentially.
Absolutely.